Chapter 2854 Green Goblin Poison. Where Xiaoya stood, a sand demon suddenly leaned out from the ground, hugged the injured Xiaoya and ran away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. How can there be any trace of the enemy when Yang Kai fits and rushes again? When the spiritual mind was released, I only felt that the aura belonging to Xiaoya in the ground was flying away rapidly, and soon went deep and deep, leaving Yang Kai's perception range, which made people sigh. The ability of this sand demon is quite a headache, Yang Kai couldn't help frowning. Fortunately, these sand demons seem to have relatively low sanity, otherwise this special ability alone would be enough to make the barbarians helpless. Xiaoya has fled, and Yang Kai is unable to pursue him. There are rumbling sounds from all directions. It is obvious that the demons are aware of the movement, or they have received Xiaoya's order to surround them here, and they want to take Yang with crowd tactics. Open. In the darkness, clusters of black shadows were looming, all of them were like the small demon clan before, who were good at hiding and assassinating. But before they were ready, Yang Kai let out a sneer, and rushed into the enemy group like a tiger descending the mountain, destroying everything he passed, and clusters of blood mist burst in the air, like blood flowers blooming, coquettish and brutal. The black shadows conveyed panic, and retreated one after another to hide. There are also tall demon warriors rushing out from the surrounding corridors, raising their weapons and charging toward Yang Kai in a fearless charge. Yang Kai stood where he was, and sacrificed 1,000,000 swords. Under the sweeping look, there was no one in his hand. Any demon who dared to rush over was chopped into 2 pieces, blood and internal organs flowed all over the ground, and the cave was full of blood. With a pungent bloody smell. After a fierce battle, Yang Kai was unscathed, but the demon race was killed or injured by hundreds. All the demons sensed that something was wrong. This guy in front of them was not something they could contend with, no matter how meaningless they were. They didn't dare to go forward easily, they just stood there with horrified faces, looking at Yang Kai vigilantly. Can't go up. Yang Kai raised his wide sword obliquely, grinning, if not, I will go up. The demons didn't answer. Yang Kai immediately moved. His body swayed, and he wandered around the cave in a flash, and when he returned to the original place, the 1,000,000 swords were dripping with bright red blood. One after another figures fell to the ground without making a sound. Yang Kai sneered, a bunch of trash. When the words fell, his complexion suddenly changed, a tinge of emerald green appeared on his cheeks, and he lost his voice. Bitch, you use poison, shameless. The emerald green color was like a living thing. After it appeared on Yang Kai's face, it immediately spread to all parts of his body, and in the blink of an eye, Yang Kai's whole body turned green, even the top of his head was glowing green. Yang Kai's nose was crooked. Ha 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 ha. Xiaoya's frenzied laughter sounded in the cave. Her voice was erratic, and she didn't know where she was hiding to watch secretly. Even with the strength of Yang Kai's divine sense, she couldn't lock it. Green. Although the poison of demons is not the strongest poison, it is also the most secretive and difficult poison of my demon clan. You are dead, little brother, maybe you can ask me to turn you into a slave to survive. Yang Kai frowned, thinking about it. Among the demons killed just now, there was indeed a guy who was green and shiny, and looked a little different from other demons. In this way, that demon race is the green goblin in Xiaoya's mouth. But Yang Kai didn't see any trace of him doing anything at all, and he didn't have any actual contact with the demons at all, so he could be poisoned, and the green devil's poison was really mysterious and invisible, hard to guard against. With a cold snort, Yang Kai said in a low voice, sorry, I'm not interested in broken shoes. Xiaoya's voice suddenly turned cold. I will slap your mouth and make you pay for your wild words. Broken shoes, broken shoes, broken shoes, your whole family is broken shoes. Xiaoya fell silent, probably very angry. There was no sound in the surrounding area, there was no trace of demon race or Xiaoya. Yang Kai curled his lips and said mockingly, if you don't come out again, I will leave. Still no response. Yang Kai nodded, his figure swayed, and suddenly disappeared in place, leaving as soon as he said. After confirming that Yang Kai had left for a long time, somewhere in the void, Xiaoya slowly appeared, still naked, but she no longer had the soft charm before, but her face was full of anger, and the cold air radiated from her body. I almost want to freeze the flames. The diminutive black shadow demon quietly appeared next to her, and said anxiously, my lord, let that guy go away like this. Xiaoya snorted coldly, you don't want him to go. The little demon said, he killed many of us. Then why didn't you just keep him? Xiaoya turned her head and asked. The dwarf demons looked embarrassed, thinking that even you are unwilling to face such a madman, so how useful can your small body be? He was accidentally punched by him just now, and was almost killed. He couldn't figure out how such a domineering power could be bred in that seemingly thin body. HMPH, he has been poisoned by the Green Goblin. Unless he becomes a part of my demon clan, he will surely die. Just wait, he will come back and beg me. Xiaya sneered, with a trace of hope that he was sure of winning appeared on his face. Expression. After hearing this, the dwarf demons also thought it was true. Although the Green Goblins have no status among the demon clans, they are vassals of the succubus clan, but their poison is a great weapon to deal with non-demon creatures. Once they are contaminated by the Green Goblin poison, unless the demon turning into a demon has a chance of life, and there is no other way to get rid of it. Since the terrifying barbarian has been poisoned, there is no need to continue to force him. Xiaoya's figure flickered and disappeared without a trace. The short demon clan glanced at the corpses around, sighed slightly, and said, "Throw these into the beast den." Immediately, many sand demons appeared from the ground, carrying the corpses without saying a word, and transporting them to the beast den, apparently to use these corpses as rations for those monsters. My lord, this, what's going on? Hundreds of miles away from the demon cave, when Yang Kaiyu appeared, more than a dozen witches looked at him in shock, and the barbarian warriors all around opened their mouths and stared stupidly. Dressed in green, she looked exquisite and novel, and even the top of her head was glowing with green light, fighting in the crowd, not to mention being conspicuous. If it was on other occasions, this appearance would make people laugh, but everyone knows that Yang Kai went to the Devil's Cave to spy on information, and now he suddenly ran back with a green light. Obviously something happened. This shocked everyone. How could anyone laugh? Pairs of concerned and nervous eyes stared at him. Yang Kai is the leader of this team, the spiritual pillar in everyone's heart. If something happens to him, then no one can lead this team. On the battlefield where the two races are fighting, how effective can a team that no one can lead play? Perhaps the demons could wipe out 3,000 people with just a small counterattack. Accidentally poisoned, Yang Kai put on a dark face, stretched out his hand, and pushed back the witches who were about to approach. "Don't get too close to me, or it will be contagious." In fact, upon hearing this, the witches who were about to approach all instinctively took a few steps back, as if they realized that this move was not appropriate, and their faces were a little embarrassed. "Green Goblin's poison?" Yu suddenly asked. Yang Kai looked at her in surprise. "How do you know?" Yu was able to explain the origin and name of the toxin in one breath, obviously not blindly, but really knew. But even Yang Kai knew about this just now, so how could you know it? Yu slightly nodded and said, "It's definitely the poison of the Green Goblin." Lu continued. "Then there is no help." The twin sisters directly sentenced Yang Kai to death, and the two pairs of beautiful eyes looked at him with pity. "How do you know about the poison of the Green Goblin?" Yang Kai asked again. The twins looked at each other. Yu said, "There is a tome in the temple of the witch god, which records some things about the demon race. The information is very little and not comprehensive, but there is a description of the Green Goblin in it, and we also accidentally saw it." Quote, "It turned out to be the temple of witches." Yang Kai nodded slightly. From the knowledge passed down from Qing, Yang Kai learned that it was not the first time that the demon people invaded a large area of land. In other words, the residents of this land had some dealings with the demon people before. Although tens of thousands of years have passed, and the times have changed, almost no one remembers the situation of that war. It is normal to have some records about demons in it. In Wu Niu's department, the oldest old witch said tremblingly, "My lords, is there really no way to get rid of the poison of the Green Goblin in Wu Niu?" Yu and Lu shook their heads at the same time. Yu said, "Although there is no way to get rid of it, you don't have to worry about it being contagious. The poison of the Green Goblin is not contagious." While speaking, as if to prove what she said, she went forward and touched Yang Kai's cheek. Yang Kai frowned, and did not avoid it. After Yu retracted his hand, there was no trace of contamination at all. This is somewhat good news. It's just that all the witches looked at Yang Kai with mournful expressions. Yang Kai said in a deep voice, "What are the symptoms after being poisoned by the green devil poison?" Yu shook his head and said, "The things recorded in the ancient books are not comprehensive, just mentioned a few words. I only know that you are covered in green light like you are now. If you want to get rid of it, you can only be demonized into a demon, otherwise you will die. I don't know much about the rest." Lu said, "My lord, do you have any last words to say? We can pass them on for you." Yang Kai laughed and said, "I'm not dead yet." Lu said seriously, But if you die, you won't have a chance to speak. Yang Kai nodded and said, I can't die, although I don't know why, but I feel good now, please rest assured. Yu and Lu frowned at the same time, looked at each other, and both could see the uneasiness in each other's hearts. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at One Air. Chapter 2855 Kill. Phone reading. As twins, the two have practiced witchcraft together for many years, and they have already reached the point of mutual understanding, so even though it is just a simple meeting of eyes, each other can see what is in the other's heart. Please search ~Shu Wong to see the most complete. The fastest updated novel. There is no cure for the poison of the Green Goblin, but Wu Niu said that he cannot die, so he has only one choice. How much do you know about the demon race? Yang Kai asked again. Yu restrained his thoughts, and answered, not much, the information recorded in the ancient books is really very little. Apart from the Green Goblin, there is also a corresponding Red Goblin. The inhabitants of this land have suffered countless casualties. Red Devil. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, and some ridiculous figures involuntarily appeared in his mind. Is it a short, round guy with red skin and hair? Maybe it is. Yu was not too sure. What special ability does the Red Devil have? Yu said. Red Devils are also called explosive demons, and their only value and function is to explode. There are still such demons. Yang Kai was taken aback. In the previous demon cave, Yang Kai did kill a few red-skinned demons, and those demons exuded dangerous auras all over their bodies. Short in stature, but fat and round, like a wooden barrel. I didn't feel anything when I killed them, but now after hearing Yuya's explanation, I realized that these guys were born for explosions. Think about it, if you didn't know this news in advance, if you encountered an army of Red Devils, and then the Red Devils burst one by one during the battle, the barbarians would definitely suffer heavy casualties. This is another extremely important piece of information. But regarding the demon race, Sister Yulu only knew about the Red Devil and the Green Devil, and they didn't even know about the Sand Demon before. Therefore, Yang Kai was not able to provide too much reference information. On the contrary, Yang Kai went to the Devil's Cave, spied a lot of information, and told many witches what he had seen, and let them pass it on, so that the clansmen would be careful when the two armies fight in the future. Subsequently, Yang Kai found an empty place, and when he raised his hand, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared. It was the warcraft that Yang Kai had captured from the Devil's Den before. The dark aura lingers on the surface of the monster's body, constantly overflowing. As soon as you appeared, he even let out a roar, which startled a dozen or so witches, and looked at the monster in amazement, and then looked at Yang Kai. I don't know how he conjured such a big guy out of thin air. However, this demonic beast has been planted several times by Yang Kai, and its strength has been sealed, so even though it looks fierce, it can't play the slightest role. There seems to be cavalry on the side of the demons. This kind of monster is their mount. Just study it and see if you can find any weaknesses. It would be the best if you can use it for me. It doesn't matter if you can't find any weaknesses. Just kill it. Yang Kai dropped a sentence. So he walked to a wooden house that had just been built beside him. A group of witches immediately surrounded the monster and began to study it with great interest. In the blink of an eye, it took 2 days. Yang Kai also hid in the wooden house and did not show up for 2 days. No one knew what he was doing. The army of 3,000 people was full of anger and fighting spirit, but there was nowhere to vent. In the Devil's Nest, Shaya sat on her throne, her tight and revealing clothes outlined her fine figure, and the massive chaotic source that was exploded by Yang Kai a few days ago also reappeared at this moment. I don't know what secret technique she uses. It completely recovered from the injury. At this moment, she propped her chin with her hands, as if she was sleeping. The short demon below stood there quietly, absolutely breathless. Like a dead man. After a long time, Shaya opened her eyes and said calmly, "What's going on over there? Has he come yet?" The dwarf demon immediately replied, "According to the spying of the Sand People, the aliens over there are a little emotionally unstable, but that guy has been hiding, and there is no special movement." Shaya sneered. It seems that he is trying to dissolve the poison of the Green Goblin. It's ridiculous. If the poison of the Green Goblin can be easily resolved, it is not the most secret poison of my demon clan. But he can persist for 2 days if you don't give in, it's really powerful. While speaking, she stood up, her beautiful eyes were sharp and she said, "Let the clansmen prepare the order." The dwarf demons cheered up and said, "Are you going to start a war with them, my lord?" Xiaya sneered and said, if he doesn't come to me, I'll go to his head office, right? Such an interesting slave is rare. I don't want him to die like this. After hearing this, the dwarf demon couldn't help but feel sad for the barbarian, but he turned around and delivered the order. In an instant, the demon energy surged in the demon cave, and many demon clans gathered. Half an hour later, the Wunyu tribe who were hundreds of miles away suddenly felt a strange noise coming from the ground, and at the same time, the air riders who were guarding high in the sky also blew their horns. The dull voice resounded through the heaven and earth, and the expressions of the 3,000 clansmen all became serious, and they took up their weapons one after another, and lined up their troops. Yang Kai was still covered in green light, and quickly walked out of the wooden house, looked up at the place where the magic cave was, and saw that the sky over there was dark, as if the eve of the storm was coming. The darkness was rushing towards this side quickly, wanting to cover the light. The corner of Yang Kai's mouth hooked up, and he sneered. A dozen witches stood in front of the 3,000 people, all staring at him with worried expressions. It has been 2 days since Yang Kai was poisoned by the green poison. Although the situation seems to be fine now, who knows when he will be unable to support it. Now that the battle is about to start, what if he is affected by the green poison in the battle and dies by mistake? In such a war, once the coach is killed, it will be a huge blow to everyone, and it may make a victory disappear in an instant. But at this critical moment, no matter how worried everyone was, they couldn't ask, they could only pray secretly in their hearts. Yu and Lu were even more prepared for the worst. Yang Kai glanced at more than a dozen witches, looked at the 3,000 tribesmen, took a deep breath and shouted, the people standing here are all the most elite warriors of my barbarian tribe, and they are the companions of my Wunyu tribe. We have already fought, and our only choice is to fight them to the end. Our opponent is the enemy who attacked us in that village a few days ago. We lost hundreds of people in the past few days, but that was just the beginning. If you can't win, thousands of people will die, maybe more. They will kill our men, plunder our women, enslave our children, and conquer our land. Panting and panting, the breathing of the 3,000 clansmen became heavy, and their fighting spirit soared rapidly. They gathered together and rushed straight into the sky, as if they were about to tear apart the sea of clouds. This battle is our first battle in the true sense, so we only have one goal, to win. Not only must we win, but we must also win beautifully. Only in this way can we wash away the shame that my Wunyu department suffered a few days ago. My warriors, are you all ready? Ho 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 ho, 3,000 clansmen, like 3,000 wild beasts, even without the blessing of bloodthirsty, their eyes were glowing red. Yang Kai smiled slightly, raised his finger and pointed forward, facing the darkest place. If you are ready, let them pay the price. The crowing of the eagle sounded, and the air riders quickly took off into the sky. Under the leadership of their respective captains, the 10 regular squads quickly headed towards the battlefield without saying a word. The sound of the orderly, hurried and dense footsteps made the ground tremble. The guards were surrounded by more than a dozen witches, guarding against death. During the march, obscure and incomprehensible incantations began to sound, and the rays of witchcraft bloomed from the hands of the witches, and they shot towards the 10 witches one after another. The regular squad shrouded in the past. Bloodlust, lightness, stone armor, great strength, chain of life. Every warrior was glowing with colorful light, and every strong barbarian became taller, his muscles were thickened, his face was ferocious, and his red eyes became extremely red. Without any fanfare, the demons and the barbarians charged at each other as if they had made an agreement. Looking down from the sky, 2 teams of thousands of people each gathered from different directions, and the wide flat land in the center was the battlefield. In a land of hundreds of miles, they are drawn closer to each other in just a stick of incense. And the raid of dozens of miles also made the barbarians soar their fighting spirit and desire to kill to the limit. When black clouds began to cover the land, the 2 armies officially encountered each other. The barbarians who charged ahead were slightly taken aback. Because they saw familiar faces, which belonged to the barbarians, the faces of the people of the past. The pioneers in the demon camp are actually those who have been demonized. It's just that at this moment, these tribesmen have lost their clear sanity in the past, and they all look crazy, irrational at all. It seems that what stands in front of them is not the former compatriots of the tribe, but the enemies who are not shared by life and death. They raised their weapons mercilessly and slashed them down. Kill! A roar sounded. Everyone in the Wunyu department was only slightly stunned for a moment, and then they quickly came back to their senses. Thanks to the information that Yang Kai spied out before, everyone was mentally prepared to encounter this situation in the battle with the demons. Every barbarian has asked himself, if he really met a demonized clansman, would he be able to deal with it? Regardless of the current situation of these tribesmen, after all, they were all barbarians before, with their own brothers, sisters and ethnic groups, and there may be a chance to rescue them. But soon, everyone knew that such thinking was meaningless. If they really met such clansmen on the battlefield, letting them die happily would be the best relief. To show mercy to them is to be irresponsible to the companions around you. In front of the crowd, Ahu leapt high, 10 feet high, and slashed forward with a huge axe fiercely. Before the attack arrived, the sharp aura emanating from the giant axe had cracked the skin of the demonized clansman on the opposite side, and by the time Ahu landed, he had been split in two. Ahu raised his huge axe high, and roared ferociously, "Kill!" To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2856 Killing Feast. Phone reading. Minced meat was flying, blood was pouring, and the battlefield seemed to be transformed into a huge meat grinder, crushing the creatures that poured into it into pieces. Please search Products and Books Net to see the most complete. The fastest updated novel. One after another, the demonized barbarians fell. Although they also came from barbarians and were physically strong, they did not receive any blessings of witchcraft after all. After being demonized, they lost their independent thinking. Today, they are just humanoid weapons whose ideas are simply occupied by killing. How can such an existence confront a real barbarian who is well-equipped, murderous, and even blessed by witchcraft? So as soon as the two armies confronted each other, the Mozu side suffered heavy casualties, while the soldiers of the Wunyu tribe rushed like bulldozers. No one survived wherever they passed. 10 regular teams, each with about 250 to 300 people, under the leadership of their respective captains, were like 10 sharp nails inserted into the camp of the demons, turning the world upside down in an instant. Amidst the sound of weapons clashing, heads flew high one after another, and their strong bodies fell down slowly. There was a hint of fascination for this land in their wide-eyed eyes, but they were more stunned. The demonized clansmen didn't know what they were doing until they died, why they blocked the way of their former compatriots, and how to confront them with swords. In just one stick of incense, the vanguard army of the demon race was beaten to pieces. A bunch of trash. Xia Ya, who was sitting behind the army, didn't panic at all. She was still so graceful, her beautiful eyes watched the death of the demons in front of her coldly, without any fluctuation in her expression. Unlike the barbarians here, this is not the first time she has confronted the barbarians. It's just that when the 4 major tribes of the barbarians were wiped out before, they were all led by the demon saints. The demons were almost invincible, and there was no decent resistance at all, and they easily wiped out the 4 tribes. It was only when she was sitting in town that she discovered the difficulty of these aliens. Based on individual strength alone, these aliens are basically the same as the demons, but with the blessing of those damned witches, the two will be judged against each other. Those various witchcrafts are really miraculous. But she didn't care, they were just demonized demon slaves, and she didn't feel sorry for how many deaths. The real key to this battle was not on those demons, or even on these 2 armies, but on a demonized slave. A wizard entangled in the poison of the green goblin. Looking into the distance, beyond the barrier of space, Xia Ya saw that green guy, and the corner of her mouth twitched, thinking that he should have reached his limit, right? Scatter. In the battlefield, Ahu roared loudly, his voice soaring into the sky. The barbarians who heard the roar stopped in unison, turned around, and dispersed in an orderly manner. Without him, a group of short, round, red-skinned guys suddenly popped up from behind the demon vanguard. These guys all showed ferocious and excited expressions, as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and their bodies were like meatballs bounced on the ground. Every time he could rush into a distance of more than 10 feet, he rushed towards the barbarian without fear of death. Red Devils. Thanks to the knowledge Sister Yulu gained from the witch god temple, after seeing these red-skinned guys, the barbarian warriors immediately gave the most correct reaction. Otherwise, if they went up without knowing it, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. One after another, regular teams bypassed the red-skinned demons and rushed forward. The red devils entangled endlessly, and also dispersed, bouncing towards the nearest crowd. Shish! In the high sky, a sharp arrow flew over, bringing the sound of piercing the sky, and the meaning of killing. Each sharp arrow shot into the body of a red devil with incomparable precision, and the red devil that was shot was like a ignited gun barrel. Gushing out of the body, the round ones even suddenly swelled several times, and then with the sound of booming, they burst open one by one, as if they could blast the void out of holes. My dear, Yang Kai looked at the sparks blooming in the air, and couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. The power of these explosive demons' explosions is really not small, although 1 or 2 alone are not very eye-catching. But if 100 or 80 of them burst together, I'm afraid even the Witch King will suffer. Hundreds of demon clans can really breed some wonderful things. The Green Devil is like this, and so is the Red Devil. On the other side, Sha Ya's smug smile froze suddenly, her beautiful eyes looked coldly at the air cavalry, and she gritted her teeth, damn it. According to her understanding, the foreign races should know nothing about the information on their side, but when the Red Devils dispatched just now, these foreign races made the most accurate response, making a surprise attack by the Red Devils completely useless. Play any role, but also lost a lot of manpower in vain. The sound of whistling continued, and the alien cavalry riding on the giant eagle were all superb in their arrow skills. Even in midair, they could still keep their aim. Every arrow could kill a jumping Red Devil, to save the lives of our own soldiers. Kill them, Sha Ya waved. Clouds of black mist behind him suddenly disappeared into the void and disappeared. A moment later, a short figure appeared silently from the side of an air cavalry, appeared in the air without any warning, the black dagger in his hand directly wiped the neck of the unsuspecting air cavalry past. The dagger is extremely sharp, even if Yang Kai's physique was slipped and slightly injured before, and if these cavalrymen were cut, their heads would be chopped off. The air cavalry who sat on the giant eagle and bent his bow and shot arrows did not respond, his sharp eyes like a falcon still locked on a Red Devil below, and the arrow missed and shot. Just as the demon was about to succeed, another dagger protruded out of the void, delicately and precisely blocking the empty cavalry's neck. With a clanging sound, when the 2 daggers clashed, the sneak-attacking demons frowned and retreated vigilantly. He's a natural killer and assassin, and only strikes when it's safest, so he's surprised that anyone can block his blow. Looking up, I saw a petite girl suddenly appearing beside the empty cavalryman, with a delicate figure and long hair flying like a waterfall. What was extremely strange was that she was actually holding a dagger in each of her hands, one front and the other reversed, standing there weakly, as if the wind had blown her down. Actually holding 2 daggers. The demon assassin frowned. As an assassin, he naturally knows how difficult it is to take out 2 daggers. This is a colleague, and he is a colleague with extremely superb skills. Excited. Killing. The girl suddenly spoke, her voice was low and soft, she raised her head slightly, her expression was pious, as if she was praying to the unknown god. What? The demon assassin was taken aback. Feast. When the words fell, the girl danced like a butterfly, her posture was elegant and beautiful, so that anyone who saw it couldn't help but immerse herself in it and enjoy the joy this dance brought to herself. Amidst the flying black hair, a cold light overflowed. The demon assassin was not in the mood to appreciate it, he just felt cold all over his body and his hands and feet were shaking. As an assassin, one must have a very strong psychological quality, and he is the best among the assassins, especially outstanding in this point, so under normal circumstances, his mood will not fluctuate in the slightest. But at this moment, he seemed to have seen an extremely shocking scene. While being terrified and apprehensive, he also revealed a sense of satisfaction that was enough to hear the truth in the morning and die in the evening. He saw the most subtle meaning of the way of assassination. A series of cold lights bloomed densely in midair, and disappeared in a flash, covering a radius of 30 feet. Chi-chi-chi-chi sounded endlessly, and streaks of blood floated out of the void strangely. When the girl stopped, a string of blood drops fell from the dagger she was holding upside down. Puff puff. In the void, blood surged wildly. One after another, the hidden figures of demon assassins suddenly appeared, and everyone had a dumbfounded expression on their faces, as if they never expected that someone could find them out of the void. Every demon assassin has only one wound on his body, and that wound is a fatal wound. Their eyes were full of disbelief, and each of the short demons fell head down from midair and fell to the ground, turning into a bloody mess. You, what's your name? The demon assassin who was facing the girl asked flatly. The girl turned her head and glanced at him, and also said indifferently, Butterfly. The demon assassin murmured, as if he wanted to remember the name. The next moment, he shot a bloody arrow from his chest, and it fell straight to the ground. On the way down, his vitality was quickly lost. Although Dai's attack frightened the demon assassins and saved the lives of many air cavalry, more demon assassins hid in the void. A ray of light flew from below and turned into a circle of light, covering all the air riders in it. In the next moment, the eyes of many air cavalry suddenly brightened a little, as if a torch was burning in it, and the light could illuminate all the shadows hidden in the darkness, making them invisible. Hawkeye. After receiving the support of the wizards, the air cavalry immediately locked their eyes on the demon assassins gathered around, hiding their figures and waiting for an opportunity to attack, and shot arrows one by one, and harvested while these assassins were completely ignorant, their lives. The assassins naturally didn't want to sit still. Seeing that their bodies were exposed, they immediately attacked decisively. The air cavalry riding on the giant eagles nimbly avoided the assassins in midair, making their sneak attack come back in vain. But Yu and Lu, who came back to their senses, chanted the curse at the same time. After 3 breaths, a bolt of lightning shot out in front of the twins like a wild snake. The lightning was like a chain, crackling, and the snake walked away. To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2857 Surrender. Phone reading. Promote my public V-Signal, and you can find it by searching for Momo, because some copyrights of this book have been sold, and if there is any progress in the game, film and television in the future, I will notify you in the V-letter, and welcome everyone to pay attention. Copy URL access web links. An assassin could not avoid it, and when touched by the snake electricity, his hair rose instantly, and his whole body smelled burnt. The snake electricity, centered on the assassin's body, exploded and turned into a grid. Cover the whole sky. The demon assassins were paralyzed and trembling all over. The air cavalry who were being chased did not look back. A blood hole. A flash of nebula lightning found all the traces of demon assassins. On the contrary, their own air cavalry were not affected in the slightest. The Yulu twins' exquisite ability to control witchcraft can be seen. The air riders, who had no worries about the future, once again displayed amazing combat effectiveness and continued to give strong support to their companions below. Shaya dispatched 3 waves of assassins one after another, but unexpectedly failed to kill any air cavalry, and instead lost a lot of manpower. She was almost insane. On the battlefield, the demons and the barbarians have officially confronted each other. The demonized demons are the vanguard. The strategy behind the Red Devil Palace has no effect. The clansmen also fought to the death. Relying on the magical ability of being able to travel through the earth, the Sand People continued to create disturbances in the battlefield, but it did have some effect, causing some damage to the Wonyu department inevitably. However, under the blessing of life chains, the vitality of all the barbarians in the 10 regular teams coexists, so even if someone suffers a fatal injury, they will not die immediately but will be evenly distributed under the effect of the injury. Other clansmen supplement their own vitality. Up to this moment in the battle, hundreds of demons have been killed or injured. But none of the barbarians fell down. The chain of life is indeed the most important witchcraft in the large-scale battles of the barbarians. With such a witchcraft connecting each other, everyone in the Wonyu tribe dares to fight even in the face of a giant dragon. Shaya couldn't sit still. She paid dearly for her rash decision. At the beginning of the battle, she thought that with the Red Devil's surprise, the victory would be established soon, but she didn't expect that the Red Devils sent out had no effect at all. The Shadow Demon clan who set out afterward were also completely defeated by the other party. Although the numbers of the 2 armies are similar. But the real combat power is quite different in comparison. Shaya can only use the most powerful team in his hand. When the roar of the beast came out, the ground trembled. As if thousands of troops were galloping, the demon cavalry charged out. The tall demons, covered in black energy, rode on the ferocious monsters, rampaging in the battlefield. Unexpectedly no barbarian can resist their pace, and wherever they pass, people are turned on their backs. The decline of the Mozu was actually brought back bit by bit. And the rest of the demons, under the leadership of this cavalry, counterattacked the barbarians, pushing the front line for a while. The sharp arrows shot by the air cavalry didn't have much effect. The beasts were all rough and thick, and if the arrows missed it, it was like tickling them. "It's time for us to play," Yu and Lu said at the same time, with solemn expressions. More than a dozen witches of different levels have straight backs, and a few of them are better when they are older. Those young witches were all a little nervous. It was the first time they went to a real battlefield, and they kept seeing people killed in battle. This had a huge impact on them. But if you want to curb the momentum of those demon cavalry, you can only rely on them now. The guard guarded more than a dozen Wechao battlefields, and Sha Ya's gaze was fixed on this side. Dai frowned slightly, although she didn't know what the barbarians were doing, but there was a feeling of uneasiness lingering in her heart. You are going to die. A voice suddenly came from not far away. Xiaya was startled, and when she turned her head to look, she immediately saw a shiny green guy appearing inexplicably beside her. Xiaya almost didn't jump up. With her strength, she couldn't detect how the other party appeared here. If the other party directly launched a sneak attack just now, can you stop it? Should. Maybe. It's just. When the two armies clashed, what did this guy suddenly come to his side instead of sitting in the rear? Seemingly thinking of something, Xiaya pursed her lips and said with a smile, have you considered falling into the arms of the great demon god? Yang Kai turned his head to look at her, grinned and said, I'm considering it, of course, if you can detoxify the green poison for me, I will consider it more sincerely. Xiaya sneered and said, don't be wishful thinking, the poison of the green goblin cannot be cured unless you become my slave. Yang Kai frowned, is this the only way? Xiaya said, only this one. Yang Kai nodded. Xiaya smiled slightly, coquettishly, the past 2 days have not been easy, right? To be honest, I'm a little surprised that you can persist for 2 days and still be sane, but the more you persist, the more painful it will be. Yang Kai sighed. At this moment, I am in pain. Xiaya tilted her head and said, I can't tell. Yang Kai grinned and said, men always have to be tough, don't they? Xiaya smiled and said, you are indeed qualified to be my slave. I can assure you that after transforming you, I will keep your sanity for you, and it will not be any different from before. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and said, can you still retain your sanity? But why are my demonized clansmen? Xiaya pursed her lips, showing a look of disdain, what are they? They are just a bunch of rubbish. Of course, they are not worth what I pay, but you are different. A strong person like you is more suitable for a clear mind. I am willing to pay some price. You are so kind to me, I really don't know how to repay you. Yang Kai smiled gently. Xiaya giggled coquettishly, just be obedient. So, shall we start now? Yang Kai turned to look at her. Xiaya's smile faded, and she raised her eyes to look at the battlefield, only to see that the demons over there suddenly fell into a disadvantage again. After the dozens of witches were mobilized, one after another powerful witchcraft was displayed, and the cavalry on the demon side were beaten back steadily. Some of the advantages they had gained before disappeared. Trouble, bringing all kinds of restraints to the barbarians, I am afraid that this cavalry will soon be wiped out. But even so, the situation on the Mozu side is not optimistic. So far in the battle, more than half of the casualties have been lost, and the losses have continued to expand. On the contrary, the barbarians have become more courageous and their morale is high. Take you as a slave, I need to pay the price, what can you pay? Xiaya suddenly turned to look at Yang Kai. What do you need? Yang Kai asked. Xiaya raised her hand, pointed to the front and said, I want to see your sincerity. Only with enough sincerity can I win my trust. Make up your own mind. Your time is running out. Yang Kai smiled and said, this is simple. When the words fell, he had already rushed towards the battlefield. Anyone who stood in the way along the way would be killed with one punch. No strong demon could stop his progress. This bloody appearance not only displeased Xiaya, but made her look at it with more relish, and the eyes that fell on Yang Kai's body were full of strange expressions. The demons obviously knew that he was not easy to mess with, and all retreated away. After a while, Yang Kai came to the front where the two armies clashed. My lord, why are you? You suddenly noticed Yang Kai's trace, and asked in a daze, come from there. The own camp is in the rear, but Yang Kai clearly came from the demon race just now. Moreover, as the commander-in-chief of an army, it is really not a wise move to appear on the battlefield where the two armies are confronting each other inexplicably, without commanding from the rear and strategizing. When she was about to persuade her, she was suddenly startled, and she vaguely felt something was wrong. Lu also felt it, looked up at Yang Kai vigilantly and said, my lord, what are you going to do? Yang Kai smiled, looked at the twins and said, come with me. The twins were silent, then shook their heads slowly. A dozen witches were also confused by this situation, and looked at each other in blank dismay. It's not good to disobey orders, have you forgotten what Master Wu Dang said when he handed you over to me? Yang Kai looked at them gloomily, with a majesty in his expression. You said in a deep voice, if your lord really considers serving the barbarians, we will naturally not disobey, but now don't you mean to join the demons? What? More than a dozen witches turned pale with shock, and couldn't believe what they heard. Chi-Chi looked up at Yong-kai, hoping that he could deny it, but what made him feel like falling into an ice cellar was that Yong-kai smiled slightly. Your insight is very sharp. You said, there is only one way to get rid of the poison of the Green Goblin, and that is to be transformed into a devil. My lord, you really let us down. In a few words, a dozen witches instantly understood what was going on in the situation before them. Master Wu Niu was poisoned by the Green Goblin, so he obviously didn't want to die like this, so he had to take refuge in the demon race, and the Yulu twins seemed to have understood his thoughts long ago. How should this be done? This is the first battle of the Wunyu division in the true sense. The 12 teams work together and are about to win a big victory, but at this critical moment, their own leader actually wants to defect. The sudden change caused everyone to lose their ability to think, and their heads were in a daze. You are very smart, no wonder you can enter the temple of the witch god. But even if you know, what can you do? Yong-kai chuckled, stretched out a hand towards the twin covers, and when the hand was stretched down, it was like a mask. The skylight curtain blocked the light in front of everyone's eyes. The faces of the twins changed drastically. Although they knew that Master Wu Niu was very strong, they never expected him to be so strong. The two of them didn't even turn their minds around, they were stiff and unable to move, and no one knew what kind of technique Yong-kai had used. To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2858. Momo's Public V Letter. You can find it by searching for Momo. Welcome everyone to pay attention. Yong-kai stretched out his big hand, and capturing the Yulu twins was as simple and easy as pinching 2 chickens. Under the eyes of everyone, the twins were frightened and uneasy, and they couldn't help but move closer to Yong-kai, and were immediately taken away by Yong-kai, flying towards the back of the demon clan. The remaining sorcerers and wizards watched all this helplessly, the chill all over their bodies spread from the pores of their bodies, and they all froze in place. Sha Ya's triumphant laughter resounded throughout the battlefield, extremely ear-piercing. When the figure flashed in front of him, Dai blocked the way. At the same time, Yulu showed surprise and eagerness, and said in unison, My lord, Wu Niu has joined the demon clan, stop him. The contact during this period of time let Yulu know that this butterfly is also a great wizard, equal to the realm of Wu Niu. If she makes a move, it may have some effect. Butterfly turned a deaf ear and stood there motionless, just looking at Yong-kai indifferently. Yong-kai also stopped, squinted at Dai and said, You want to stop me? Dai was silent for a while, and silently stepped aside. The light of hope in Yulu's eyes suddenly disappeared. Yong-kai nodded, passing by with Yulu and Dai. Be careful, Dai murmured softly, her voice was like a mosquito ant, if you don't listen carefully, you may not even know that she is talking. Yong-kai has gone far away, and soon disappeared. The battle isn't over yet, why are you stunned? Dai looked at the 13 witches below, opened her mouth to drink coquettishly, and took the lead in moving. Harvesting the lives of the demons, sometimes the light of witchcraft blooms from the hands, giving the barbarian warriors various blessings. Seeing her like this, the 13 sorcerers and sorcerers regained their backbone and gradually stabilized their position. The curse sounded again, and the light of witchcraft flickered frequently. On one side of the battlefield, Yong-kai floated to the ground, and with a wave of his hand, Yulu and Yulu fell to the ground. The eyes of the twins sprayed out the anger of hatred, as if a volcano was hidden in it, looking at Yong-kai, and then at the scantily clad Sha Ya clenched her silver teeth. On the one hand, they felt humiliated by the situation of the two of them, and on the other hand, they were indignant at Yong-kai's greed for life and fear of death. If they had known that Wu Niu was such a person, they would never have agreed to follow him. Is such sincerity enough? Yong-kai looked at Sha Ya and asked with a smile. Sha Ya smiled meaningfully, her beautiful eyes turned around Yulu, then looked at Yong-kai, shaking her head slowly. Yong-kai frowned. The two of them are the mainstay of our 3,000 people, I captured them to surrender, why not enough? Sha Ya raised her hand slightly, pointed at Lu casually and said, kill her. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Yulu and Lu both changed. If you kill her, I will trust you. Sha Ya tilted her head and looked at Yong-kai with a hint of provocation in her eyes. She is not a fool, even though the barbarian Great Witch was poisoned by the Green Goblin and showed the intention to surrender, but if it is only to this extent, it is not enough to win her trust. This is the last test. If this barbarian great witch can really kill his subordinates, then his intention to surrender is unquestionable. Otherwise, it is a trick to get close to him. Sha Ya's mood was quite conflicted. On the one hand, he hoped that the great barbarian witch would fight to the end, and would rather die than submit. Only the prey that is struggling between life and death is the best prey. On the other hand, I feel that it is a pity that he died like this, and hope that he can listen to his own words, but a slave who listens to his own words too much, what's the use of coming? She has no shortage of such people. So she herself didn't know what decision she wanted this barbarian great witch to make. She observed carefully, hoping to see the expression of hesitation and struggle on the other party's face, which would make her feel more or less happy. But what surprised her was that after listening to her order, Yang Kai walked forward without saying a word, without the slightest hesitation. The faces of the twins changed suddenly. Yu Chang braced himself to stand in front of his younger sister. Her beautiful eyes stared at Yang Kai, and said sharply, "Kill me, let her go." Yang Kai stood in front of her, like an insurmountable mountain, overlooking her, slightly nodded and said, "Sisters love each other deeply, it is touching. It's a pity." At the same time as the sound of hitting the ground came out, the rain had already been swept away by Yang Kai's kick, flying directly a dozen feet away, and landed heavily on the ground. After rolling a few times, blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. "This is Lord Sha Ya's first order, I have to obey it." When Yang Kai spoke, he had already pinched Lu's slender neck and lifted her up slowly. Lu struggled hard, her face flushed red, but how could she, who was restrained by her strength, shake Yang Kai's restraint only with her physical strength? Her hands and feet looked so ridiculous and comical. Cough, let her go." Yu got up from not far away, screaming, and wanted to rush this way, but was firmly subdued by a group of black shadows. The power in Yang Kai's hands became heavier and heavier, and his witch power began to fluctuate, sending out an extremely dangerous aura. Seemingly in agreement, the struggling Lu turned her head to look at her sister, and Yu was also looking at her heartbrokenly. With 4 eyes on each other, Lu opened her mouth slightly, but no sound came out. Rain knew she was saying goodbye to herself. "No!" Yu shouted hysterically. Bump! A mass of blood mist suddenly exploded, and the dew lifted by Yang Kai exploded directly, leaving no bones, only the blood and minced meat dripped down. Yu's screams stopped abruptly, and the whole person seemed to have lost his soul and looked at the bloody mist in the sky. He couldn't believe that his sister, who was still close to him just a moment ago, would end up so miserable. 2 lines of blood and tears fell from the corner of her eyes silently. She didn't cry, her eyes became icy cold. She looked at Yang Kai coldly, filled with engraved hatred. If possible, she would like to take this Wu Niu mouthful. He bit him to death, ate all his muscles, drank all his blood, even chewed his bones, and swallowed them. Ha! Ha 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 ha! Sha Ya suddenly let out a burst of frenzied laughter, trembling wildly, appearing extremely happy, as if the scene that just happened in front of her touched some sensitive nerve of hers, giving her an unprecedented feeling. Satisfy. Yang Kai ignored Yu's hostile gaze, turned to look at Sha Ya and said, "My lord, is this sincerity enough?" "Enough." Sha Ya nodded in satisfaction. Until now, she didn't really believe that Yang Kai had come to surrender. "Come here," Sha Ya called, as if calling her pet. Yang Kai went to stand in front of her. "Kneel down," Sha Ya said again. Yang Kai frowned, shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, my leg hurts and I can't kneel down." The smile on Sha Ya's face turned cold in an instant. She stared at Yang Kai coldly and said, "Do you dare to disobey my order? Do you want to die?" Yang Kai said lightly, "In life, some things can be discarded, but some things must be persisted. You are a woman, sir, and you don't understand the persistence of us men." The corner of Sha Ya's mouth twitched. "It's ridiculous, you can kill your own subordinates at will, but you don't want to kneel to me." Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders. "I would rather die." The two looked at each other. Yang Kai looked flat, Sha Ya was full of majesty. After a long time, Sha Ya curled her lips. She found that this big witch was a tough one, and she really didn't intend to kneel down to her in order to survive. This kind of persistence not only didn't annoy her, but made her a little excited. It is a sense of accomplishment to train such a rebellious slave. "Well, now that you've shown your sincerity, it's my turn now." Saying so, Sha Ya moved her lotus step slightly, came to Yang Kai in a graceful manner, and reached out to touch his forehead. A pitch-black devilish energy suddenly overflowed from Sha Ya's fingertips. The demonic energy was somewhat similar to the demonic energy that the Wunyu tribe encountered in the abandoned village before, but it was not the same. In comparison, Xia Ya's demonic energy was undoubtedly better, purer, and more corrosive. And after forcing out this devilish energy, Xia Ya's face suddenly showed a trace of fatigue, obviously it was also a burden on her. The devilish energy was like a living thing, lingering around Xia Ya's fingertips for a few times, and then suddenly entered Yang Kai's body and disappeared. Yang Kai snorted and took 2 steps back. Immediately, a faint jet black color permeated the surface of the body. The blackness was like a burning flame, and it burned all the green goblin poison wherever it passed. The green light disappeared and was replaced by a strange and heavy darkness. Is this the end? Yang Kai frowned slightly. Xia Ya chuckled lightly and said, if you can withstand my demon energy without dying, you are a member of my demon clan, but to become my slave, you need to add something more. Yang Kai Dao. I am willing to work under the command of the adults. Xia Ya said with satisfaction. Very good. While speaking, he opened his mouth, and suddenly spit out a fist-sized thing from his mouth. Yu Zhao, who had been watching coldly, shrank his eyes, because this thing didn't look like anything else, but a heart with dark eyes that was beating rhythmically. Xia Ya held it in her hand, and it was agitating gently, and every time there was an extremely strong force, and it also carried a trace of magical power, which made people restless and dizzy. Yang Kai looked at it with gusto. Xia Ya smiled slightly. This is my demon heart. Is it okay for you to take it out like this? Yang Kai asked earnestly, will it affect me? Xia Ya laughed and said, among my demon clan, all the strong ones who have achieved success in cultivation have their own demon hearts. The demon hearts cannot be extinguished, and the demon clan will not die. Didn't your ancestors tell you this information? Yang Kai Dao, it's the first time I heard about it. Looking at the demon heart with scorching eyes, Yang Kai said, in other words, this thing is your foundation. Not bad. Xia Ya nodded slightly. Can you let me have a look? Yang Kai looked at the demon heart curiously. Xia Ya raised her head, her eyes were full of meaning, as if she wanted to see whether he was asking casually or had other calculations. Yu suddenly held his breath, and his expression became tense. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update Group at One Air. Chapter 2859 Thunderstrike. Chapter 2859, Thunderstrike. I have something to do today, I have to go out soon, so there is only one update, sorry. Under Xia Ya's scrutinizing eyes, Yang Kai looked calm, as if he was really just curious about the demon heart. Xia Ya smiled slightly, and unexpectedly threw the demon heart to Yang Kai, and said lightly, be careful, don't break it. Yang Kai took it and played with it over and over again. Yu was so nervous that he could even hear his own heartbeat, and looked at Yang Kai expectantly, temporarily forgetting that he was his sister-killing enemy, and only one voice echoed in his mind, squeeze this devil's heart. If Yang Kai can really crush this devil's heart and kill the devil in front of him, then Lu's death is not worthless. If Yang Kai really does this, it means that everything before is false. Chance to kill the Demon King. Even if Lu died because of this, she could forgive her. But to her disappointment, Yang Kai waited and watched for a long time with the demon heart, but he didn't even intend to do anything. What are you hesitating about? You haven't crushed it yet. Yu finally couldn't help but yelled out. Xia Ya glanced at her with a smile, her eyes full of sarcasm. Yang Kai raised his hand, threw the demon heart back, and said, what are you going to do now? You can get out your own demon heart, isn't it just to surprise me? Seeing this scene in Yu's eyes, she immediately turned pale, and her body limply fell to the ground, as if she had lost all her strength. Wu Niu really took refuge in the demon clan, and Lu died in vain. It was ridiculous that he had such little expectations for this spineless guy who was greedy for life and fear of death just now. It was a shame to have such thoughts. And Xia Ya, who took back the demon heart, had a smile on her face at the moment, showing a very satisfied look, and said, of course I didn't let you see it. While talking, she didn't see any movement, but a trace of dark blood leaked from the demon heart in her hand. The blood was round and full of unimaginable magic power, and was sent to Yang Kai by Xia Ya, smiling, swallow go on, from now on you will be mine. Without hesitation, Yang Kai swallowed the demonic blood in one gulp, and at the same time with a muffled snort, the dark aura on the surface of his body flourished. Xia Ya pursed her lips and smiled, looked at Yang Kai approvingly and said, you made a wise choice. Thank you sir for giving me the opportunity. Yang Kai looked indifferent. Then now, Xia Ya stepped forward, looking at the chaotic battlefield. At this time, the demons were already defeated. There was no panic in her eyes, but confidence in victory. She raised her hand and said, "Let us end this ridiculous war. The barbarian commander has already surrendered, and although there are many people left, there is nothing to worry about. As long as she joins forces with her newly recruited slave, winning is not a problem at all. By the way, I haven't asked your name yet," Xiaya asked without looking back. "Which Niu? My name is Wu Niu," Yang Kai replied. When he spoke, the power in his body was surging, and a golden light suddenly bloomed from under his feet, penetrating into the ground, and the next moment, muffled humming sounds came from the ground. The sand demons hiding underground were killed by Yang Kai without any response. Xiaya was slightly startled, and felt a pain in her chest before turning her head. When she looked down, she suddenly saw a wide sword tip piercing through her plump breasts, bringing out a stream of blood. The beautiful eyes trembled, Xiaya couldn't believe her eyes. And the rain over there also let out an exclamation, shocked by the sudden change in front of him. "My lord, how do you feel?" Yang Kai's voice came from behind, very flat, as if asking her if she had eaten. Xiaya coughed a few times, blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, and said grimly, "Swallowed. My devil blood, why do you still go against my will? If not, she wouldn't have been so careless and hastily exposed her back to this witch cow." The witch cow passed all the previous tests perfectly. He wanted him to show enough sincerity, so he arrested 2 witches under him, and even killed one in front of his own face. And it was also a test that she seemed to throw the devil's heart at him at will. If Wu Niu got into trouble at that time, Xiaya also had a way to resolve it. Even if the devil's heart was really crushed, she would not die. But he didn't show any signs of rebellion at all, and after observing the devil's heart for a while, he returned the devil's heart. If he is really rebellious, then is definitely the best time to do it. From that moment on, Xiaya truly believed him. And giving him to swallow the devil's blood is the last layer of protection. After swallowing his own devil's blood, he will be his own from now on, and he will not have the slightest power to resist if he kills him. That's why she can safely show her back to the other party. But what he didn't want to get in return was a real betrayal and a thunderous blow. There was no sign of his betrayal, as if it was a sudden intention, but such a decisive move was obviously premeditated. The devil's heart was in great pain, and Xiaya could clearly feel it being pierced by a sharp weapon. She, who was as strong as the Devil King, couldn't help trembling her delicate body, and almost fell to the ground. "Ha ha ha," Xiaya smiled instead of anger, tilted her head with difficulty, and looked at Yang Kai out of the corner of her eye. "In order to win my trust, you don't even hesitate to kill one of your own subordinates. If you want to get something, you have to pay some price first." Yang Kai replied lightly. Xiaya looked up at the rain not far away, and said, "Did you hear that?" In his eyes, you are just a bargaining chip to win, and he can sacrifice all of you when necessary. Yu frowned, but didn't show much emotion. When she saw Yang Kai attack Xiaya suddenly, she knew that her guess was correct. Master Wu Niu really went to such lengths to get close to the Demon King, and even killed his own sister with his own hands. Being exposed should be valuable, right? Don't confuse the crowd with evil words, your life is in my hands. Yang Kai sneered lightly. Xiaya looked resentful. How did you do it? What she couldn't figure out the most was that Yang Kai could go against her will. It stands to reason that after swallowing her demonic blood, any of Yang Kai's mental activities could not escape her perception. As long as the other party had a little bit of resistance in his heart, she can know in advance. But after he did it, when his demon heart was pierced, he didn't realize that he had the intention to harm him. How could the blood of the devil's heart have no effect? No comment, Yang Kai replied, and when the words fell, the power of the soul came out fiercely, turning into a wave and wrapping Xiaya. Xiaya instinctively gave birth to a heart of resistance, but Yang Kai only slightly suppressed the million sword in his hand, and the severe pain made her efforts go to waste. There seemed to be an invisible vortex surging, and when the vortex was spinning, Xiaya suddenly disappeared. Yang Kai waved the million sword, shook off the blood on the sword, and let out a sigh of relief. The shadow demons who had been guarding Xiaya all around were stunned and hadn't recovered until now. Yang Kai also pointed at the million sword, and when the sword light surged, screams came out, and when the blood was soaring, all the shadow demons were killed. Yu regained his freedom, looking at Yang Kai with complicated eyes, trying hard not to remember the person in front of him, but the image of his sister's tragic death in front of him kept replaying in his mind. Lu is not dead. Yang Kai grinned at her. What? Yu was stunned. What did you say? Did you hear me wrong? Is he wrong? Lu was pinched and exploded in front of his eyes. How could he not die? Yang Kai Dao. I thought that you sisters have a good heart, and you should be able to sense it. I didn't expect you to not be able to sense it, and that's right. After all, there is a world barrier. If you can sense it, it would be too strange. Yu didn't know what he was talking about at all, but what she saw the next moment made her shed tears. Silently, the dew that should have exploded into a cloud of blood mist suddenly appeared in front of the eyes. You only saw Yang Kai wave his hand. What I crushed was another corpse. Yang Kai explained. In the previous action, his back was facing Xiaya, so Xiaya didn't see some details clearly. The moment before the pinch was exposed, Yang Kai threw her directly into the mysterious small world, and it burst open. It was a dead body that he brought back from his walk on the battlefield just now. Such an approach is tantamount to picking chestnuts out of the fire. Any negligence is enough for Xiaya to see the flaws. Fortunately, although Yang Kai is only a great wizard, he has the foundation of Emperor Senior Realm, so it went smoothly. Yu's eyes instantly became moist. Lu was a little dazed, completely unaware of what had happened. She only remembered that Wu Niu pinched her just now, and then she entered a mysterious and quiet world in a blink of an eye. In that world, she was trapped within a radius of 10 feet, unable to get out, and there was no one around. When she was trying to escape, she suddenly returned to the original place. After hearing her sister's voice, Lu's first reaction was to move closer to her sister, and then looked at Yang Kai vigilantly. Yu said, Master Wu Niu did not betray, everything just now was acting, in order to win the trust of the Demon King. Lu stared blankly. Fake. When Yang Kai pinched her neck and lifted her up, she almost thought she was going to die, because Yang Kai looked at her eyes without any emotion. That was the look of really wanting to kill her. Yu nodded and said, well, thanks to Mr. Wu Niu, the Demon King was killed, right? Shea disappeared inexplicably, and Yu didn't know what would happen to her. Yang Kai smiled at them and explained. I have dealt with her in the past 2 years, and she suffered a bit, so if I don't do something, I'm afraid I won't be able to get close to her, let alone let her relax her vigilance. With the help of the devil, she can escape at any time, and I don't know what other cards she has, so I have no choice but to make this move. In short, it will make you panic. The twins shook their heads together. Yu said, it's nothing, but I had some misunderstandings about the adults. Yang Kai waved his hand. In that case, it's normal for you to have doubts. Well, don't gossip, now let's end this war together. To be continued. If you like this work, welcome to come vote for recommendations, monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2860 After the War. Phone reading. The battle ended quickly, the demons were already at a huge disadvantage, and there were countless casualties. Xiaya pinned all her hopes on Yang Kai, but at the last moment, Yang Kai, who seemed loyal, gave her the deadliest attack. One strike. Without the commander-in-chief, the demons' side was even more disorganized. There was no coordination among the various teams, and they only knew how to go on the rampage instinctively, which fulfilled the mission of the barbarian warriors to harvest the lives of the enemy. When Yang Kai led the twins back to the battlefield, the situation had become overwhelming. The light of witchcraft kept flickering and blooming, and one demon after another fell down. Even the most powerful demon could not make waves in front of such a united army of barbarians. The sand demons who are good at escaping want to escape, but find that the earth no longer protects them for some reason. The vast ground is dyed golden by the light of witchcraft. The shadow fiends who came and went without a trace also lost their own advantages. With the blessing of Eagle Eye, the air cavalry can always find their traces accurately and shoot one after another deadly sharp arrows. And the most powerful demon cavalry team has long been wiped out, leaving only some monsters neighing on the battlefield. The screams kept echoing over the wilderness, making people feel horrified. This is the victory of the barbarians, the victory of the Wunyu tribe, and it is a brilliant victory. When the last demon fell, all the barbarians were panting heavily, looking around with red eyes, and there was no enemy in sight. Between the heaven and the earth, there is a chilling atmosphere. The clansmen stood in the sea of corpses and blood, like the undefeated god of war, awe-inspiring and inviolable. A soldier raised the weapon in his hand and screamed to the sky, venting his excitement and joy. More clansmen responded, and the successive howls were enough to make the world change color, and the sun and the moon dimmed. Yang Kai flew up into the air wrapped in black energy and looked around. Shenian even carefully inspected every corner of the area with a radius of tens of miles, and after confirming that there were no fish that slipped through the net, he opened his mouth and shouted, "Clean the battlefield and count the wounded." The 10 regular teams were ordered to get busy under the leadership of their captains. After this battle, everyone paid the highest respect to their commander. The dozen or so witches looked at Yongkai worriedly. After all, Master Wu Niu's demonic energy is so obvious, no one knows whether he will really be demonized into a demon. If this happens, then this victory will be meaningless. Even the commander-in-chief was transformed into a demon. No matter how great the victory is, it is also a failure. As if sensing their thoughts, Yongkai glanced at them. But he didn't explain too much, but said, "Yulu, take someone to check in the magic cave over there, it will be where we will be stationed in the next few months." Yes, the twins got the order, and immediately rushed to the devil's lair with the guards. Soon, the number of casualties in this battle came out. There were nearly 3,000 people in the Wonyu department, and more than 200 people were killed, which is almost equivalent to a regular team. Almost all the remaining people were wounded. Such a loss can be called a miracle. If Xia Ya's scheduling was improper and she was too confident, it would be impossible for the barbarians to suffer only such a small loss. She put all her focus on Yongkai, but she was disappointed in the result. But in this battle, more than 3,000 demons were beheaded, and there were still some prisoners. Naturally, the real demons will not be captured, they have all died long ago. The captives returned were those devils transformed by the devil's energy. They were originally part of the barbarians, but they were sent by Xia Ya as the vanguard, and they were the first to face the Wonyu tribe head-on. Even though Yongkai had told the clansmen not to be merciful when fighting before the battle, many clansmen still chose to injure them rather than kill them in the face of these compatriots from the past. So many transformed clansmen survived. However, they are still entangled by demon energy, and they don't have much reason to speak of. More than a dozen witches gathered in one place, as if they were trying to save these tribesmen, and they didn't know what effect and progress it would have. In addition to these demonized clansmen, dozens of magical beasts were also captured in the Battle of the Wonyu department. The method of dealing with magical beasts is much simpler. When Yongkai went to spy on information earlier, bring back a monster from the magic lair. After repeated experiments by the witches, they were pleasantly surprised to find that the beast control technique also works on monsters. Although monsters are more difficult to domesticate than savage beasts, as long as the beast control technique works, these monsters can become the mounts of the Wonyu department. Dozens of monsters can form a small cavalry team. The heroic demeanor of the air cavalry has long been envied by the other clansmen. The majesty of the demon cavalry when they charged in formation has been lingering in their minds, and they naturally imagine that they can do the same one day. And now, the opportunity has come. It's just that the number of dozens of monsters is still relatively small compared to the army of 3,000 people. Moreover, monsters are not something that everyone can control. Even if the witches can use the beast control technique to domesticate them, the magic energy on the monsters cannot be eliminated. To ride such a thing, one must first have the ability to resist the erosion of magic energy. There are indications that only the most powerful warriors are qualified to ride these magical beasts and become a member of the cavalry. Sleepless and restless, after a big battle, the Wonyu department was still busy all day before cleaning up the entire battlefield. Thousands of people acted together, dug a big pit not far away, and buried all the corpses of the demons in it. The witches took action and incinerated them. People feel nauseous when they smell it. The situation on the Devil's Nest has also been inquired clearly. Xia Ya never thought that she would lose this battle, so during the war, she basically put all her combat power into the battlefield, leaving only a few people in the Devil's Nest. That's all. When Sister Yulu brought the guards over, these demons who stayed behind were killed before they could react. The magic cave hidden in the mountainside changed hands in an instant, and became the base camp of the Wonyu department. In the next few days, the clansmen rested and recuperated. After all, everyone was a little exhausted after the first battle, especially after the effect of the bloodthirsty technique disappeared. Even the strongest clansmen could not resist the feeling of exhaustion. In other words, in the next few days, they don't have much fighting power. If a large number of demons launch an attack at this time, everyone may have to be slaughtered. The feet of the dozen or so witches did not touch the ground, and their expressions were exhausted. They not only want to heal those demonized tribesmen, but also tame captured monsters, and perform witchcraft to heal the wounded tribesmen. Everyone can't wait to divide themselves into 10 or 20 shares. The Yulu twins have been pale for the past few days, obviously due to lack of rest and overdrawn witch power. Even the butterfly, not to mention the other sorcerers and witches, sometimes fell to the ground when they were busy, and then snored loudly. After sleeping for a while, I got up in surprise, wiped the saliva from the corner of my mouth, and continued to work. Yang Kai was nowhere to be seen. Since he came to this demon cave, he occupied the stone house that belonged to Demon King Sha Ya, and ignored anyone who came to see him. No one knew what was going on with him. But in private communication, the witches were worried about their own commander, for fear that he would suddenly turn into a demon and fight against each other. It is naturally impossible for Yang Kai to turn into a demon. His condition was unexpectedly good, except for the lingering demonic energy all over his body. He felt strange when he was contaminated by the poison of the Green Goblin. The poison of the Green Goblin is not the most powerful poison among the demons, but it is definitely the strangest poison. People, otherwise there is no cure. It is precisely because of this characteristic that the Green Goblins do not have much status among the hundreds of demon clans, because their poison does not work on demons but only on aliens. However, although Yang Kai was poisoned by the Green Goblin before, he didn't feel any strangeness, which made him vaguely guess. In order to verify this conjecture, he even took the initiative to swallow a drop of Sha Ya's devil blood at the risk of his own life. As expected, even Sha Ya's blood of the devil's heart had no effect on him, it just changed his aura, and the effect brought by the blood of the devil's heart eliminated all the poison of the Green Goblin. Ancient demon Qi, Yang Kai murmured to himself. His dantian is still sealed with extremely pure ancient demonic energy. Back then outside Fenggalan City, he was eroded by that ancient demonic energy and turned into a demented demon. Thanks to the golden and silver trees with the power of the seal, he regained himself. Having had a transformation experience, Yang Kai himself has a strong resistance to demonic energy. Unless the demonic energy contaminated is more pure than the ancient demonic energy in his dantian, it is possible to have an effect on him. But whether it is the poison of the Green Goblin or Sha Ya's blood of the devil's heart, compared with the existence in his dantian, there is a big gap, so it is naturally impossible to have an effect on him. Even Sha Ya's demon heart blood is incomparable, so what exactly is that ancient one-eyed troll? Could it be the demon saint? Yang Kai had a vague feeling that the one-eyed troll that he saw through the memory contained in the ancient demonic energy was probably an outlier among the demons. Because the magic weapon battle axe possessed by the Dharma body is the weapon of the ancient one-eyed troll, and the magic weapon battle axe is of extremely high grade, not inferior to a top-level emperor treasure. Ordinary demons cannot possess such weapons, only the strong among the demons are eligible to wear them. In that memory, countless ancient powers came forward one after another, blooming their own light of life, only to kill the one-eyed troll, but in the end, after paying a huge price, they could not completely eliminate the one-eyed troll, leaving one eye was lowered, and it was sealed by all means. Countless years later, the seal was loose, and Fenggalan City suffered a catastrophe. Yang Kai got the magic eye, fused it, and refined a black pupil. This is his trump card, a trump card that he dare not use easily. To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2861 Minecraft. In the peaceful and quiet world, Sha Ya frowned and galloped forward. The fatal penetrating wound on her chest had long since disappeared without a trace, but there were still some blood stains on her clothes. The vitality of the demons has always been strong, especially for a strong man like Sha Ya. The demon heart is immortal, and the saying that the demons are immortal is not a joke. She's been stuck here for days. There is no sun, moon and stars here, but there is sufficient light, the environment is also extremely favorable, and the aura of heaven and earth is unexpectedly strong. But she was not in the slightest happy mood. A few days ago, when she was attacked from behind by that guy named Wu Niu, and when she was seriously injured, she somehow came to this world full of singing birds and fragrant flowers and pleasant scenery. Sha Ya thought she was dreaming. But the penetrating wound on her chest made her understand that this was reality. Where is this place? Why did I come here? She couldn't figure it out. After carefully checking the surroundings, there was still no clue. Sha Ya could only keep moving forward, looking for the possible way out. But with the strength of her demon king, after spending a few days of hard work, she still didn't find anything. This world is like an endless cage, and she is a wild beast in a cage. No matter how hard she tries, she can't escape from the cage. Sha Ya's mood was extremely low, thinking of the guy who stabbed her from behind, her silver teeth were almost gnawed. She couldn't figure it out. After swallowing the blood of her demon heart, why could that Wu Niu still betray her? Why didn't she feel that he had the idea of betrayal? According to the strength of the demon clan, the aura of the witch cow is just a demon commander, which is a level lower than her, the demon king. How can he resist her demon heart blood? There are too many things I can't understand. She found that since she met this guy named Wu Niu a few days ago, she has been at a disadvantage everywhere, and now she doesn't even know where she is. But no matter what, the news must be spread. That kid is too weird, and even himself will suffer. If other demon kings encounter it, I am afraid they should be more careful. Just as she was thinking this way, Shaya suddenly stopped her pace, her eyebrows slightly frowned. At that moment just now, she actually had a feeling of being watched by others. This has never happened in the past few days. It seems that she is the only one in this world, and there is no trace of any other living people. Under suspicion, Shaya tilted her head and looked at it. The next moment, the anger of hatred spurted out from her beautiful eyes, and she gritted her teeth at a figure quietly floating in midair over there and shouted, "Which Niu?" Yang Kai smiled at her. "Good morning, Lord Demon King." What a big girl. Shaya has a well-cultivated mind, so she couldn't help but swear at this moment. How could she know whether it was morning or night in this ghostly place where the sun, moon and stars were not visible? Of course, it wasn't the important point. The important point is that the enemy is very jealous when they meet each other right now. Although the wound had healed, Shaya could still clearly feel the pain from her demonic heart when she saw Wu Niu. The wound that had been pierced through seemed to be split open again, making her heart rending. Yang Kai didn't care about her rudeness, just smiled slightly. "It seems that I guessed well. Even if you really destroy your demon heart, you still won't die. The demon race's life is so big." Shaya looked indifferent, and asked without answering, "Where is this place? What do you want to bring me here?" "Here." Yang Kai raised his eyes slightly, his eyes piercing the void, as if he could see the end of the world. He opened his arms and said, "This is my world, in this place, I am the master." Shaya sneered, obviously feeling that Yang Kai was talking nonsense. A mere guy at the level of a magic commander dares to claim to dominate the world. Even Lord Demon Saint doesn't have this ability. As for why you were brought here, Yang Kai smiled gently, "Of course it is to train you." "Teach me." Shaya was taken aback for a moment, then giggled, "Interesting, this is the first time I've heard someone say that to me." She has always said this kind of words to others, so when she heard it for the first time, she suddenly felt a little novel. "You think I'm joking?" Yang Kai looked at her seriously. Shaya curled her lips and said, "I just think you're full and have nothing to do." Yang Kai slowly shook his head and said, "You should be lucky, you still have some value in my eyes, otherwise you would be a dead person now." "Oh." Shaya scratched her head and posed, her charm blooming leisurely. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yang Kai in a daze and said, "Then I don't know what value I have in your eyes." "Anyway, it's not the kind of value you think." Yang Kai hooked his mouth. "I told you, I'm not interested in broken shoes, especially a piece of rotten meat like yours that is so rotten that wild dogs don't even bother to smell it." The charm on Shaya's face instantly subsided, replaced by a bone-chilling coldness. Yang Kai's insulting words had obviously touched her bottom line, making her somewhat unacceptable. Shaya opened her mouth and screamed, and the incomparably pure soul power swayed, turning into a huge shock and rushing towards Yang Kai's mind. At the same time, a soft whip suddenly appeared in her hand, and immediately rushed towards Yang Kai. Smoked down. The movements are gentle, but they contain overwhelming power. The Demon King's attack was really extraordinary, even the aura of this small world was stirred by it. Yang Kai stood still, with a sneering smile at the corner of his mouth, raised his hand slightly, clasped his thumb and middle finger, flicked lightly, as if flicking a mosquito. However, Shaya seemed to have been severely injured, a large part of her lower abdomen was obviously sunken, and her whole body was thrown out by a huge force, bleeding continuously in midair. After finally stabilizing her figure, Shaya no longer had the composure she had before. Her eyes were full of panic. She looked at Yang Kai in disbelief, her beautiful eyes trembling violently. How is this possible? The other party didn't show any signs of using any strength just now, but he knocked himself into the air with his hands and feet. The strength was even more just right, not only made him feel pain, but also didn't hurt his own foundation. He has such a powerful method. Absolutely impossible. Although he has only fought against this Wu Niu once, Shaya also knows how capable he is. He is indeed strong, but that kind of strength also has a bottom line. The scene just now made her a little unable to think. It was an ability that even a demon saint could not display. How could it appear on a foreigner who was equivalent to the level of a demon commander? The blow I personally encountered was completely beyond Xia Ya's cognition. She made up her mind and looked at Yang Kai, as if she wanted to see something. Yang Kai raised his middle finger again. Xia Ya's complexion changed drastically, and he reflexively mobilized his demonic energy, turning into a black shadow to cover his figure. But at the next moment, her head seemed to be hit by a meteorite, and she was thrown backwards suddenly, even turning her whole body in the air, making her dizzy, and the huge force impact made her completely unable to stabilize body. She didn't know how far she flew before Xia Ya felt the strength gradually weakening. She tried her best to support her body and regained her footing. Hot and humid liquid flowed down from her mouth and nose, and when she reached out her hand to wipe it, it was full of blood. And the forehead was even more numb, completely lost feeling, as if his skull was broken. Looking up, there was no figure of the alien in front of him. Before she could breathe a sigh of relief, a voice came from behind that made her feel horrified. I said, in this world, I am the master. Even if your great demon god comes, you have to kneel here and be my vassal. Xia Ya pursed her lips, wanting to refute, but didn't know how to speak. The other party's 2 attacks broke her heart and gallbladder. She thought that with her own strength, Wu Niu was definitely not the opponent, but now it seems that it is not the opponent but herself. Under his methods, she has no resistance or even reaction at all. Time. Invincible, invincible, Xia Ya made a judgment in her heart. That's the only way to escape. With this in mind, Xia Ya didn't hesitate anymore. Without saying a word, she pushed her figure with all her strength, galloped in one direction, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Spiritual thoughts surged until Xia Ya couldn't feel the breath of that guy named Wu Niu at all, and Xia Ya breathed a sigh of relief as if she had narrowly escaped death. As a demon king, there are few things or people in this world that can make her feel afraid. Even when facing the demon saint, she will only show enough respect and caution. But that witch cow really made her feel fear. It was a fear of facing unknown power. Although the demon saints are strong, Xia Ya knows where they are strong and how strong they can be. But the strength of that witch cow has no bottom line. His wild words seemed to echo in his ears again, and Xia Ya couldn't help thinking, could it be that he really dominates this world? How is this possible? Who can dominate the world? Xia Ya, who was on the way to escape, suddenly widened her eyes, and looked at a certain place in front of her in shock. In the void over there, a figure that terrified her stood there quietly, with that mysterious expression still hanging from the corner of her mouth. Che smiled, seeing her galloping towards her. She didn't intend to stop her, but just put her hands behind her back, looking like she was watching the show. Hell, I obviously didn't feel any power fluctuations. How did he appear in front of my eyes? Shocked, Xia Ya hurriedly stopped, turned around and fled in the opposite direction. After a stick of incense, a scene that made Xia Ya despair appeared again. The witch cow appeared in front of him again, standing there with the same posture, as if he had never moved, and looked at the scenery around him. It looked familiar. There were still some undried blood on the ground nearby. That's the blood I just spit out. Why did he run back out of nowhere for no apparent reason? He was obviously running away in a straight line, so why did he come back? The smile on the face of the alien in front of him was like the call of a demon, which made Xia Ya, who was the Devil King, feel shuddering. Her blood started to turn cold, her face turned pale, and she turned around and ran away again. Nothing. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at One Air. Chapter 2862 Demon Domain. What did you do to me? Xia Ya panted slightly, with despair covering her face, looking at the figure in front of her that made her afraid. She asked through gritted teeth. Several hours have passed since she started escaping, but Xia Ya found sadly that no matter how she tried to escape, she could not escape within a radius of tens of miles, as if she was constantly circling around a certain location, always inexplicably ran to this witch cow, throwing himself into the trap. She belongs to the succubus family, and the power of divine sense is their innate talent. At first, she thought she had some kind of witchcraft or hallucinations, but she didn't find any trace after repeated inspections. It's not a hallucination, and I don't have any strange feelings, but I returned to the original point after running. This inexplicable encounter made her feel terrified, just as she was terrified of the power shown by this witch cow before. Her eyes were dim, as if covered by dark clouds, and she couldn't see a ray of hope. Frightened, she gave up the idea of running away, because several hours of hard work made her understand that she couldn't escape. I said, in this world, I am the master. If I want you to live, you will live. If I want you to die, you will not be able to survive anyway. When the words fell, Yang Kai moved forward slightly. Take a step. And those steps seemed to be stepping on Xiaoya's heart, which made her tremble all over, and opened her mouth to spit out blood. Yang Kai walked towards her step by step from the air. His expression was indifferent, without any emotion, and every time he took a step, the breath on Xiaoya's body became weaker, and blood spurted out from his mouth. It seems that the whole world is starting to find Xiaoya in a difficult situation, unable to accept her existence, and will not give up until she is crushed into powder. At the critical moment of life and death, Xiaoya made the most sensible choice. She suddenly knelt on the ground on one knee, with a pious expression, and said, "My lord, please forgive me, Xiaoya is willing to pledge allegiance to you." She is a smart person, so it is not difficult to guess Wu Niu's intention to keep her alive. Since this Wu Niu is not greedy for her beautiful body and is not in a hurry to kill her, then there is only one purpose, to subdue her. So Xiaoya immediately lowered her head when she knew she couldn't escape and couldn't resist. She doesn't have any high-spirited and unyielding integrity, she will do anything to survive, this is also the instinct of all things in the world. Yang Kai's steps stopped, and he smiled slightly. Good. It was only then that Xiaoya felt the omnipresent pressure all around suddenly eased. She couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, raised her head slightly, looked at Yang Kai with that beautiful face that could turn all living beings upside down, and said pitifully, "I don't know how my lord needs me to prove it." Quote. Just like when Yang Kai surrendered to her before, she needed Yang Kai to show his sincerity. Since she chose to abandon her self-esteem and stand to surrender, she should prove it. No one would be foolish enough to believe empty words. "Open your sea of consciousness," Yang Kai ordered. Yes. Xiaoya hesitated for a moment, and finally gave up the defense of the divine consciousness, and many secrets in the consciousness sea became undefended in an instant. As long as Yang Kai was willing, he could ask for it at will. Of course, if you really do this, it may cause irreparable trauma to Xiaoya, and one carelessness is enough to turn her into an idiot. Yang Kai didn't go to pry into those secrets, but rushed into Xiaoya's sea of consciousness with his spiritual mind, branding his own spiritual brand in it. Xiaoya's delicate body trembled, and she felt that there was an invisible connection between herself and this Wu Niu, as if there was a rope tied to her, and the other end of the rope was in Wu Niu's hands. Superior. Inexplicably, he felt that this witch cow was a little friendly, and he was no longer as hideous as before. Xiaoya knew that it was due to the secret art of the soul, and at the same time quietly sensed the strength of the secret art of the soul. The next moment, Xiaoya's heart sank. She originally thought that with her soul power, even if the other party left traces in her sea of consciousness, she could find a chance to erase them. After all, he is just an existence equivalent to a magic commander. But in fact, Xiaoya found that the firmness of the brand was beyond her ability to shake, which made her hopes disappear in an instant. "You should know that I can respond to any bad thoughts you have." Yang Kai looked at her with a smile. Xiaoya's face turned red slightly, and she raised her eyes delicately and said, "My lord, I was wrong, and I don't dare to do it anymore. From now on, Xiaoya will be your lord's man, and I hope my lord, have mercy on me." She has an infinitely soft and charming appearance, which makes the whole world seem to lose its luster. But when Yang Kai raised his hand, Xiaoya's chest hurt when his face changed wildly. When he looked down, he saw a blood hole the size of a thumb appeared on his chest, running through his chest and back, and the blood was soaring. Xiaoya's face was pale. "Next time you dare to cast a charm on me, this hole will be opened in your head." Yang Kai's face was ruthless. Yes, Xiaoya looked serious. Although it would not be fatal for her to have a hole in her head, it was not a good experience, and she became honest now. Yang Kai tilted his head to look at her, frowned and said, "You said before that the demon heart is immortal, and the demon race is immortal. Since the demon heart is your foundation, why didn't I kill you twice when I destroyed it?" On the battlefield before, Yang Kai attacked from behind, and the million sword clearly pierced Xiaoya's devil's heart, and just now he also pierced through the devil's heart with one finger, but apart from Xiaoya looking a little weak, there is no danger of his life. Xiaoya replied, "I have 2 demonic hearts, and if any demonic heart exists, I will not die." Yang Kai frowned. "Is it the same for other demon race powerhouses?" Xiaoya said, "Most of them use multiple demon hearts, and only a very few have only one." If you want to kill the existence above the Demon King in the future, you must ensure that their demon hearts are completely destroyed. She had just surrendered and was anxious to show herself, so she had nothing to hide about this information. I see. Yang Kai nodded, stretched out his hand, and Sha Ya's face changed reflexively, thinking that she had accidentally offended the other party, but soon she knew that she was worrying too much. The jade bottle flew towards him and landed lightly on the ground. Sha Ya looked up and looked at Yang Kai suspiciously. Take the pill inside, I have something to ask you later. Then Sha Ya picked up the jade bottle, opened the bottle cap, and poured out a round, full and crystal clear panacea from it, and a scent of the pill rushed to her face, which made Sha Ya have a feeling that she wanted to swallow it immediately, a feeling of. She did not hesitate, and indeed swallowed the panacea. Soon, Sha Ya sat cross-legged on the spot with a shocked expression, silently adjusting her breath. It took only a stick of incense before and after, and the injuries on her body had already healed, and even the dark wounds and sluggish breath she had suffered before had been greatly replenished, and she became full of vigor again. The vitality of the demons is indeed strong, especially Sha Ya is still a Demon King level existence. However, he was able to recover so quickly, more than half of which was due to that magical elixir. How could aliens refine such a thing? Master Wu Niu seemed to call it a pill just now. Sha Ya frowned, her understanding of the barbarian's medicine is still on some herbal mixtures that look like paste, such a scented panacea, let alone see it, I have never even heard of it pass. It is undeniable that the efficacy of this elixir is extremely powerful. If the aliens can casually refine such an elixir, then their injured clansmen can be well healed. This is very bad for the demons. Thinking about it, Sha Ya smiled again. Why are you thinking about these? Now that I am a prisoner, the only way to survive is to shake my head and beg Wu Niu for mercy. It is completely meaningless to think about these things. Suddenly he became someone else's slave. Sha Ya sighed softly, stood up with restraint, obediently walked towards Yang Kai, stood still in front of him and said, "My lord, I'm fine." Yang Kai turned around, looked at her and asked his first question, "Where are you from?" "Demon Realm." "Demon Realm?" Yang Kai frowned. Sha Ya smiled slightly. "There are many worlds, and the world where your lord is located is not the only one. The Demon Realm is the same existence as this world where your lord is." Yang Kai inhaled slightly. "You mean, there are more worlds like this?" Sha Ya nodded and said, "Of course. Although I haven't been to many places, according to the information left by my ancestors, there are indeed many big worlds in this endless time and space. It's just that there are barriers between worlds. Existence, you can't easily detect each other, only those who have reached the pinnacle of strength can sense one or two. Then how did you demons discover those big worlds, and how did you get in? The barriers of the world are strong and weak. In some big worlds, the walls are useless. As long as you find the entrance, you can enter and exit at will. However, in some big worlds, the walls are so strong that not everyone can enter and exit. If you want to go in and out, you have to pay a price. Well, my lord, the boundary wall between the world you live in and the demon realm is a bit strong, and it was the Lord Demon God himself who broke through the boundary wall before." Demon God. Yang Kai narrowed his eyes. He had heard Sha Ya mention these two words before, but Yang Kai always thought that the so-called demon god, just like the existence of the witch god to the barbarians, was a symbol and a spiritual pillar. But now, according to Sha Ya's words, this so-called demon god actually exists, and even shot through the boundary wall between the two big worlds. This news made his hair stand on end. What kind of strength is needed to do this? Among the star realms, the 10 most famous emperors do not know if they have this ability. Sha Ya said solemnly, "In the demon realm, only the strongest existence is qualified to become a demon god." "More than one?" Yang Kai frowned fiercely. "Of course there is more than one." Sha Ya looked at him strangely, as if she didn't understand how he would ask such a question. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. This text is provided by a Chao Shean Update Group. Chapter 2863 Lure the Enemy. When he returned from the mysterious small world, Yang Kai's face was serious. Novels. Chatting with Sha Ya gave him a lot of information about the demon race, which made him know that the demon race is not an easy race to deal with. There are hundreds of demon clans, and there are many types, each race has its own innate magical powers. Just like Xiaoya is a succubus, her innate supernatural power is the light of charm, which is a kind of ability she was born with. Once she uses it, she can easily charm those existences whose strength is lower than her own. The light ones are driven by her. To be enslaved by her, in severe cases, she will lose her sanity and become a walking dead. The diminutive black shadows encountered in the war before were shadow demons among the hundreds of clans. They were best at stealth and assassination, wandering in darkness and shadows. And those sand goblins, red goblins, green goblins. The race with the largest population is called Limo. They are born demon warriors. 80% of the demons they encountered on the battlefield belong to this race, but they are all dead now. Yang Kai led Xiaoya out of his grotto, causing a commotion. More than a dozen witches and other barbarians looked at the demon king Xiaoya in shock, and the Yulu twins were even more condensed with witchcraft, ready to fight at any time. This is the demon king, the commander-in-chief of the previous demon army, so everyone is naturally vigilant. Only Dai, with a calm expression on her face, seemed to have expected it, without any surprise. Don't be nervous, everyone. I'm the slave of Lord Wu Niu now, and I won't have any ill intentions towards you. Facing the hostility of the crowd, Xiaoya smiled slightly. Slave, everyone exclaimed, and no one knew what the word, slave, meant. Yulu cast a questioning look at Yang Kai, seeing him nodding in acknowledgement, still gave birth to an unreal feeling. Although Yang Kai was extremely powerful before, taking a demon king as a slave is still too unbelievable. All the barbarians did not completely trust Xiaoya. Even with Yang Kai's affirmation, they still maintained corresponding vigilance against the demon king. Yulu stepped forward to report to work. After several days of treatment by the witches, many of the captured demons got rid of the entanglement of demonic energy and recovered their sanity. But maybe it was because they had been demonized for too long, so more than half of them died of head explosion during the treatment process, which made people sigh. This is also something that can't be helped, after being demonized. The compatriots in the past have become demons. It is irrational for the 6 relatives to deny it. If you want to save them, you have to pay some price. Rescuing a small number of them is better than keeping everyone in the state of demons. In the war of the past few days, the more than 200 people lost by the Wonyu department were quickly replenished. However, those rescued clansmen are still a little weak at the moment, and need some days of rest to recover. Yulu is also researching a better treatment method, using the bloodthirsty technique to stimulate the energy and blood in the people's body, supplemented by the 2 techniques of purifying the heart and mind, which is the method that Yang Kai randomly pondered before, although it has some miraculous effects, but there should be a more perfect way. Yulu was born in the temple of the witch, and she was well informed. It is the most suitable job for this kind of research. If it is really successful, then the casualty rate will be greatly reduced if the clansmen are treated in the future. In addition, most of the captive monsters were also domesticated by the witches using the beast control technique. The twins wanted to select some of the most powerful warriors from the Wonyu department to form a cavalry, but Yang Kai did not agree to this matter, and they did not dare to make a decision on their own, so they came to ask for opinions at this moment. Yang Kai naturally has no objection. Although in the previous war, the demons were defeated and there were countless casualties. But the majesty of that cavalry still made Yang Kai a little eye-catching. Now that the monsters have been domesticated, it is not a bad thing for the Wonyu department to have an extra real cavalry. If there is such a cavalry, we will encounter the last big battle in the future. It will definitely be cheaper. Do you need my help? Xiaoya asked from the side. She abandoned her self-esteem to join Yang Kai and became Yang Kai's slave, so she couldn't wait to show it off. Seeing Yang Kai looking at her, Xiaoya smiled slightly. After all, I am a demon king. If I were present, those beasts would not dare to act wildly. And I also know how to control them better. Alright, then you can help. Yang Kai nodded. Yulu didn't believe in Xiaoya, but she couldn't refute Yang Kai's decision, so she could only leave with Xiaoya, preparing to find suitable cavalry candidates from the team. The next few days were uneventful, and the Wonyu tribe continued to recuperate, recharge their batteries for the next possible war, and achieved a great victory, which made their morale high and their confidence doubled. They suddenly discovered that the demon tribe that wiped out the 4 tribes of the barbarians, in fact, it is not the imaginary 3-headed 6-armed, immortal, they will also bleed, they will also die, and they will also be timid when facing powerful enemies. The sense of mystery and fear towards the demons disappeared all of a sudden. The unknown is a terrifying force, but if you know what kind of existence your opponent is, then you can position yourself well in the process of dealing with it, and let your abilities be fully utilized. The large-scale participation of the entire army this time allowed the Wonyu department to eliminate the strangeness of the demon race. The so-called demon race, like a girl waiting to be released from the cabinet, is being slowly lifted by the Wonyu department. Xia is worthy of being a devil king, and her methods are really amazing. In a few days, she was able to get along like a fish in water in the Wonyu department, and even the dozen or so witches were no longer wary of her, including the Yulu twins. Although Yang Kai didn't deliberately observe her actions, he passed through each other. The soul brand in the room also sensed some situations. Xia did not use the traces of the charming light, but only used her sincerity and patience to impress a dozen or so witches, truly integrated into them, and let them accept her existence. With her help, the dozens of magical beasts captured successfully became the mounts of the clansmen, successfully forming a superb cavalry. Of course, monsters have demonic energy after all, and the clansmen dare not contact them casually. Only after they have stimulated the power of energy and blood and have a certain resistance to demonic energy, will they gradually become familiar with riding skills. 5 days later, in the grotto, Yang Kai called Xia. "What are your orders?" Xia was quite dignified and beautiful when she was not dissolute. Since she was warned by Yang Kai in mysterious small world a few days ago, she no longer dared to show off in front of her master. "Every time I met Yang Kai, I was as serious as a yellow flower girl." Of course, the revealing clothes still didn't change. The reason why she was able to integrate into the Wonyu department so quickly has something to do with the beauty she exposed. 70 to 80% of the dozen or so witches are men, and men like beauties. "You said last time that there are other demon strongholds nearby, right?" Yang Kai looked up at her. Xia nodded and said, "That's right, the demon saints are all cultivating now, so our demon race can only stand still. Everyone is now scattered in various places to guard the defense line and prevent your barbarians from advancing." "Where is the nearest one?" 300 miles away. Xia vaguely understood what Yang Kai meant, and smiled slightly. "Do you want me to lead the way, and then attack them?" "Well, there is no problem, there is no stronghold over there. The demon king sits in the town, there is only one demon commander, and there are only about 1,000 people under him. With our current strength, we can eat them casually. She is a demon king, and when she uses the word, she doesn't feel awkward at all, as if she has really become a barbarian. We're not going to beat them." Xia stared blankly, looking at Yang Kai in surprise. Yang Kai grinned. "Let them come by themselves." Xia suddenly understood Yang Kai's plan. "You should be able to contact there." Yang Kai raised his head and asked. Xia nodded and said, "There is indeed a way for us demons to communicate with each other." "Then go down and prepare. What needs to be done, don't I need to teach you?" Xia pursed her lips and smiled. This king has reached a critical juncture in his practice and has no time to clone himself. There is an army of foreign races attacking forcibly. After hearing the news, come to support. "Very good." Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction, and waved. "Go." Xia bowed and retreated. Not long after, outside the grotto, Xia stood in the air. A jet of black devilish energy suddenly escaped from her body, turned into a black crow, fluttered its wings and flew towards the distance, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. When she turned around, she suddenly found a young girl standing there quietly staring at her. Although she didn't do anything bad, Xia felt a sense of guilt for no reason, as if she had passed on some information that was bad for the barbarians. Xia had a deep impression on this girl, because in the previous few days of battles, she displayed a set of extremely exquisite lore skills, which was impossible for even the most powerful shadow demon under her command. She seems to be called Dai. Xia has had contact with the other dozens of witches and is familiar with them, but this butterfly is mysterious, and Xia has even met her face several times. It was a rare encounter, so Xia naturally didn't want to let go of this opportunity to get close, so she smiled and said, "How are you?" Butterfly still looked at her quietly and didn't intend to reply, just like a delicate puppet. I don't know why, Xia felt a little scared for no reason, and suddenly lost her intention to get close to her, and explained, "Just now, my lord ordered me to send a message to the nearby demons so that they can fall into the trap." Butterfly still stared at her with that indifferent gaze. Xia felt uncomfortable all over, forced a smile and said, "I'm going to return to my life." As he spoke, he brushed past Dai. After walking a dozen steps and looking back, Shaya couldn't help being stunned. Who was there behind? The girl came suddenly and left mysteriously. Even she, the Devil King, didn't notice any traces. To be continued. Chapter 2864 Massacre. Phone reading. Shaya fought a cold war for no reason, and secretly decided that she would never stay alone with this girl in the future. The sense of crisis was too strong. Even when facing Master Wu Niu, Shaya would not feel this way. After returning to his life, Yang Kai immediately summoned all the witches and the captains of each team. The Wunyu department originally had 12 teams, including 10 regular squads, 1 escort team, and 1 air cavalry team. Now a cavalry team has been added, and Ahu is the cavalry captain. So at this moment, the Wunyu department has a total of 13 teams. After briefly talking about his own arrangements, the witches and the 13 captains all looked excited and geared up. After many days of continuous cultivation, Wu Niu's state has been perfected, and the victory in the previous battle has boosted their confidence. At this moment, another battle is needed to maintain this state. Moreover, this is also the best way for barbarians to grow. After the big battle a few days ago, many barbarians obviously felt that they had become much stronger, especially the captains and vice-captains of each team. They were the best among them. Under the baptism of blood and injuries, their potential instinct, the shackles of body training in the past have broken through a lot, and more barbarian warriors have grown tremendously. So today's Wunyu department is extremely eager for war. The tranquility of these days made them a little uncomfortable, and now that Yang Kai suddenly informed them to prepare for the battle, everyone was naturally delighted. After some arrangements, the witches and captains clarified their tasks and positions, and then dispersed. At noon on the second day, a group of uninvited guests ushered in outside the grotto. There are about 1,000 people in this group, and the members of the team are mixed, just like the team commanded by Shaya before. Reinforcements from the nearby demon base have arrived. Shaya's summoning is indeed very effective. She is a demon king after all, and the demon strongman in the nearest stronghold is just a demon commander, so after receiving Shaya's order, he brought people here non-stop, preparing to fight against the demon king. If you do a good job in front of the adults, maybe you can get a different opinion from the Lord Demon King. For this magic commander did not hesitate to bring all the strength of his subordinates here. There were thousands of people in a mighty force. When they rushed to the place to have a look, they suddenly felt that something was wrong. The Lord Demon King's order said that there was an attack from a foreign race, and he was practicing kung fu, but in the eyes of the demon commander, there was no trace of battle here. The surrounding calm is a bit outrageous. This made him instinctively feel uneasy. He didn't advance rashly, but stopped about 10 miles away from the grotto. He summoned his shadow demons and sand demons, and ordered them to spy on the information. But at this moment, a black shadow suddenly flew over from the front. After feeling the aura contained in the black shadow, the magic commander immediately looked serious, turned over from his crotch mount, and stood respectfully where he was, waiting for the arrival of the black shadow. After a while, Shaya's style appeared in front of this magic handsome infinitely. "I've seen you, my lord." The magic commander saluted immediately, his eyes lingering on the beautiful parts of Shaya's body intentionally or unintentionally. Although he has long been aware of the horror of the succubus. But I still couldn't control my eyes. Lord Demon King is really beautiful. If he could spend the night with the Demon King. He couldn't help swallowing, his breath became heavy. "You brought all your people?" Shaya glanced down and asked. "Brought them all." The demon commander responded respectfully, showing a trace of curiosity and said, "Didn't you send a message saying that there were aliens coming? Could it be that the matter has been resolved? If you think about it, since the Lord Demon King has appeared, it means that she must have made a move in person, a demon king. How can those aliens survive?" This made Ma Shuai feel sorry, and felt that he had lost a chance to perform in front of the demon king. "Well, it's solved." Shaya smiled slightly, that smile bloomed like a flower bud, making the whole world lose its luster. Mo Shuai looked at her foolishly. Seeing nothing but him, Shaya continued, "However, you are so loyal and come at your call, this king has to reward you." Ma Shuai suddenly excitedly said, "This subordinate dare not." Even though he said this, his expression was extremely excited, as if he was looking forward to what kind of reward Shaya would give him. Promising to reveal it soon, Shaya just waved his hands lightly at him. Mo Shuai suddenly felt that his vision was a bit upside down, and he blinked his eyes in confusion. He actually saw a familiar figure standing in front of him. The neck was flat, and bright red blood gushed out from it. Why, it seems to be my own body. His own head was chopped off. One last thought flashed through his mind. The consciousness of this magic commander quickly returned to nothingness. And at the moment Xiaoya made his move, the demons under the command of this demon general were in a commotion. No one knows why the Lord Demon King killed the leader of his side without saying a word, but the Demon King is a Demon King after all. Even though panicked and fearful, these demons still stood where they were, looking at Xiaoya eagerly, hoping she can give an explanation. The light of charm rippling, this is Xiaoya's explanation. The huge halo of light enveloped thousands of people all at once. Under the demon generals, all the demon clan looked dazed. Although those demon generals worked hard to resist, it didn't have much effect, and it was obvious that they would fall soon. The sound of the crowing of the eagle came out, and the air cavalry flew quickly from afar, and the ground began to tremble. The various teams of the Wonyu department came from all directions, and it was Ahu's cavalry who charged in front. With his new master galloping on the battlefield, he worked extraordinarily hard. Dozens of monsters gathered together, and the momentum was soaring. The 10 regular squads that followed the cavalry were also working hard and were unwilling to be left behind. The distance of more than 10 to 20 miles has been shortened by dozens of breaths. At this time, Xiaoya's complexion also became slightly pale, and she was a little weak in her follow-up. Although she is a demon king, and the enchanting light is a natural supernatural power, covering thousands of people at once is not a small burden for her. She persisted until the army of the Wonyu department arrived, and immediately became weak. The charming light disappeared, and the demons came to their senses, but what awaited them was the rampage and joint killing of the Wonyu warriors. There were screams one after another, and one demon after another fell down. The brilliance of witchcraft burst out one after another, making the sun in the sky lose its luster, and the blood on the ground gathered into a river, gurgling and flowing. The demons showed expressions of grief and indignation. They didn't understand until their death why their own demon king was helping the aliens to destroy themselves. Even the sand demon who was the best at escaping had no way of escaping under the cover of witchcraft ability. There are aliens in all directions, and even the sky is surrounded by air cavalry, shooting down with precise sharp arrows, reaping the lives of the tribesmen. They have no room to escape at all, and the only thing waiting for them is the end of being slaughtered. After realizing this, the demons rose up to resist, but the huge disadvantage of numbers and insufficient preparation made their resistance seem ridiculous. Ahu led a cavalry composed of dozens of monsters in and out among the demons. Wherever they passed, people turned their backs on their backs. The cavalry were like invincible swords, plowing out abysses of death one after another in the battlefield. Everyone's weapons were covered with blood, and everyone was full of murderous intent. The barbarian warriors blessed by witchcraft were like invincible gods of war, family. This is pure one-sided massacre. If it is said that the performance of the demons in the previous first battle was notable, the two sides fought back and forth. If Xiaoya was not captured by Yang Kai at the last moment and thrown into mysterious Shaoji, the barbarian side would definitely have more casualties. Then this time the ambush and sneak attack was dominated by the barbarians. No matter how fierce the resistance is, it is meaningless under the crush of the Wonyu department. Half a day later, the battle was over, and the Wonyu department almost wiped out the demons at the cost of only a dozen deaths. The reason why there are still some survivors is because those who survived are all demonized clansmen. This time, the Wonyu department did not kill those tribesmen again, because these demonized tribesmen did not participate in the battle under Xiaoya's control. The demonized clansmen have no sanity, but obey the higher-level demon clan instinctively. In other words, any demon clan has the right to kill and command them. In the presence, Xiaoya was the most powerful demon clan, so he naturally gained control of these demons at once. After the war started, she let these demons leave the battlefield. At this moment, everyone is alive and well, and no one is even injured. There are a lot of people, more than 300 people. This is also one of the most important reasons for the disastrous defeat of the demon clan. They originally only had 1,000 people, and they lost more than 300 at once, almost one-third of their manpower. It's weird. After the war, the battlefield was counted as usual. The demons had many weapons in their hands, and they were naturally collected by the Wonyu department. And the witches rushed to the demonized clansmen immediately, preparing to treat them. There are more than 300 people from the tribe, and I don't know how many people can be saved. Although the twins have been working on a more secure treatment method, the time is still short and there is no good result. And this group of demons can just become their test subjects. With Sha Ya's deterrence, these demons will not have any resistance at all, which provides a better research space for the twins. In the whole war, Yang Kai didn't show up, and even Dai didn't make a move, but the Wenyu department still won the victory at an almost negligible price. Although this was expected, everyone's still excited. They look forward to more wars, hoping that they can kill more demons, and then one day, they will be able to drive these demons out of this land. To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2865 0 Battles 0 Wins. Phone reading. Outside the grottos, a battle of large or small scale would break out in as long as 10.5 months, or as short as 3 to 5 days. Pin Shu Wang www. VODTW. COM. Sha Ya played the role of the traitor perfectly. All the demon commanders within a radius of 10,000 miles were tricked by her, and even the teams under those demon commanders, and every demon team that rushed here with the purpose of rescue, welcomed them without exception. The merciless blow of the Wenyu department, and then the whole army was wiped out. The 3-month patterned battle has allowed many members of the Wenyu tribe to achieve great growth, not to mention those warriors who broke through their shackles one by one under the baptism of blood and became true warriors. There are sorcerers and shamans, but there are also many people who have unknowingly broken through the bottleneck and promoted to a higher level. In today's Wenyu department, besides Yulu, who is a top-ranking wizard, there are also 2 newly promoted wizards, which makes the witchcraft blessings that the entire team can get even stronger. The increase in the number of people is extremely obvious. At the very beginning, there were only 3,000 people in the Wenyu department. But 3 months later, the Wenyu department already had 5,000 members, which was almost double the number at the beginning. The extra 2,000 tribesmen were all captured and rescued in battles again and again. They got rid of the erosion of demonic energy, found themselves again, joined the Wenyu tribe without hesitation, and became members of the Wenyu tribe. One of them played a crucial role in every battle. In 3 months total, the Wenyu department participated in as many as a dozen battles, killed at least tens of thousands of enemies, and killed more than a dozen demon commander-level existences. Such achievements can be called brilliant. It can be said that there is no team led by a great wizard in the entire barbarian tribe that can have such an excellent record as the Wenyu department. After all, the existence of the magic commander level is basically on an equal footing with the great wizard. Other great wizards want to kill a magic commander. It is necessary to hold the awareness that neither life nor death. But the Wenyu department is different here. The leader of every demon team that was lured over died in the hands of Sha Ya in one encounter, and then the team rioted. He was ruthlessly crushed by the Wenyu tribe rushing from all directions. In 3 months, within a radius of 10,000 miles, there was no longer a half of the demons. And Sha Ya's dedication has also allowed her to be recognized by all the barbarians, although she is still a demon. But everyone knew she was on their side. In fact, these 3 months of battles were basically led by Sha Ya, with the assistance of the Yulu twins. As for the commander of the Wenyu division, Lord Wenyu, he hadn't shown up for 3 months. Has been staying in his own grotto. Every time a witch wanted to meet Yang Kai, Sha Ya stopped him, even Yulu. If it wasn't for Sha Ya's constant commitment to lure and kill the enemy, with a firm stand, I'm afraid everyone would think that Yang Kai was controlled by Sha Ya. One day 3 months later, the witches, Sha Ya and others were discussing what to do next. Suddenly Sha Ya looked back as if he had sensed something, then looked solemn, bowed and said, "Grown-ups." All the witches also looked up. Seeing Yang Kai not knowing when he appeared not far away, he hurriedly stood up and saluted. Yang Kai waved his hand, and then said, "Let everyone prepare for the journey tomorrow." Departure. Yu was slightly taken aback. "My lord, are we going somewhere else?" Yang Kai Dao. "There are no demons around here, there is no point in staying here, let's go to a place with demons." "My lord, you know." Yu was a little surprised. There are indeed no demons around here. 3 months of effort, under Sha Ya's constant tricks of luring the enemy. All the demons within a radius of 10,000 miles were summoned and killed. Although there are demons farther away, those demons are not ruled by Shaya, and the scope of each demon king is limited. The demons farther away are under the jurisdiction of other demon kings. Even if Sha Ya sends a message for help, those demons may not pay attention. They were also discussing whether it was time to move their positions, but because Yang Kai was not present, no one could make a decision. I didn't expect Yang Kai to show up at the critical moment. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Although I have been practicing, I know a lot about the outside world. While speaking, he glanced at Xia Ya. Being imprinted by himself and becoming his own slave, Yang Kai could spy on Xia Ya's mind casually, spying on it every now and then, so he naturally knew the current situation like the palm of his hand. Then I'll send the order down now. Yu's expression brightened, and he immediately started to make arrangements, and the other witches also dispersed one after another. The migration of the 5,000-person team, whether it was large or small, was indeed a lot. Things are going to be busy. Xia Ya was left behind by Yang Kai. Only when the two of them were alone, Xia Ya frowned and looked at Yang Kai in surprise. My lord, your aura. I haven't seen him for 3 months, but the breath of this foreign man has become several times stronger than before. According to the strength of the demons, I am afraid that he is about to touch the level of the Demon King. And if you switch to the barbarian side, you will be promoted to the Witch King soon. Xia Ya has stayed here for 3 months, and she has learned a lot about the affairs of the barbarians. She clearly remembered that when she met Yang Kai for the first time 3 months ago, the other party seemed to be only a middle-rank great wizard. Even if she retreated for 3 months, she would not be able to improve so much. In my mind, a private rumor from Wenyu department suddenly sounded. According to the rumor, Lord Wu Niu was an ordinary person with no power to restrain a chicken before last winter, even inferior to some barbarian children, but one night he was favored by the barbarian god and received a gift, and he soared into the sky from then on. This rumor seemed to come from the mouths of the villagers in the same village as Wu Niu, and the people who said these words were convincing, not like they were lying. Xia Ya didn't take it seriously at first, but now it seems that those rumors are not groundless. In 3 months, he has been promoted from a middle-rank great wizard to a level close to the Witch King. This growth rate is simply too terrifying. And he had severely injured himself when he was a middle-rank great wizard, and now his strength has increased several times. Xia Ya felt that if he had any confrontation with him again, he might not be able to escape like last time. Yang Kai ignored her shock and said, "Tell me, where is the nearest Demon King?" As Yang Kai's slave, Xia Ya could naturally see his intentions, and replied, "I know a guy named Bao Qi, and I happen to know his location." Yang Kai looked at her intentionally or unintentionally, and smiled slightly. "Do you have a grudge against him?" Xia Ya's expression was slightly uncomfortable, but she still admitted, "He humiliated me, but it was his fault first, and his position is closest to us, so no need to explain." Yang Kai waved his hand, nodded lightly and said, "You have worked hard these past few months, you are my slave. Since he has enmity with you, then let's go and teach him a lesson." Xia Ya's beautiful eyes are bright. Yes. The Wenyu department set off in the early morning of the second day, left the stronghold that had been defended for 3 months, and headed for the unknown but bigger battlefield. There were 5,000 mighty people in an orderly manner. 3 months of war taught the barbarians what coordination and discipline are. Large-scale battles are not a place to fight bravely and fiercely. Only with trusted companions supporting each other, can there be hope of victory. The empty cavalry explored the road ahead, and news came back constantly. The team of 5,000 people continued to advance, and did not encounter any interception from the demons. It's true, with the help of Xia Ya in the past few months, all the demons in a radius of 10,000 miles have been wiped out. Even some miscellaneous fish can't make any waves, so why are there still people who don't have eyesight to block the way? After half a month, the Wenyu department stopped in a jungle, using tall trees and dense grass to hide their existence. Xia Ya pointed to the front and said, "Master, there is a city of your barbarians over there, and that Bao Qi is over there." Yang Kai nodded and said, "You live in the grotto, and he treats the city as the Demon King, so the treatment is a bit different." Xia Ya said with some embarrassment, "Bao Qi's strength is stronger than mine. Converted to the level of your barbarians, I should be a low-rank Witch King, while Bao Qi is a middle-rank Witch King." "Which clan does Bao Qi belong to?" Yang Kai asked. Xia Ya looked serious, and said, "The Blood Demon family. So if you have any disputes with him, sir, don't be hurt by him. Any wound is enough for him to display his innate supernatural powers and make you blood dry, and die." "I remember." Yang Kai nodded slightly, looked into the distance, and said, "Have a rest for half a day, let's go when night falls." Xia Ya took the order and went away. Guessing Yang Kai's intentions, she felt a little uneasy, although her master's aura was faintly approaching the Witch King, and her real strength could not be calculated by the routine, but if she met Bao Qi, she would also feel a little uneasy. I don't know if I can win, but that is the blood demon Bao Qi. But now that she is a slave, it's useless to think too much. No matter what decision Yang Kai makes, she can't go against it, and she doesn't even dare to question it in her heart, so she can only obediently find a place to recharge her energy. Time passed quickly, and when night fell, Xiaya suddenly opened her eyes, looked up in a dark direction, and then walked out without saying a word. A few kilometers away, Yang Kai stood there waiting for her, and nodded slightly when he saw her coming over. From now on, I am your slave, be careful not to show any flaws. Xiaya smiled confidently, acting as succubus, housekeeping skill, don't worry little guy, sister will treat you well. She changed her previous respectful face and giggled, as if she suddenly changed back to the appearance when Yang Kai first saw her. Yang Kai didn't care about her verbal offense, he nodded slightly and followed behind her, lowering his eyebrows and looking like a slave. To be continued. This book comes from Pin and Shu Hash Wang. Chapter 2866 Blood Demon Bao Qi. A stream of pure black air floated over the rough barbarian city, as fast as lightning, broke through the defenses in the blink of an eye, and rushed into the city. Little, say. The demons in the city were startled one after another, and rushed over from all directions. One after another appeared nearby, staring vigilantly and fearfully at the two figures emerging from the mass of black shadows. One of them has a graceful figure and a strong breath, and it is an existence of the level of a demon king. This made the surrounding demon kings not dare to step forward easily. Xiaya looked around and let out a burst of laughter like silver bells, mixed with the meaning of charm that was hard to guard against. Many demons retreated again and again, getting farther away. They are obviously aware of the horror of the succubus. Only those powerful demon commanders dare to stay where they are, but they are silently resisting. Yang Kai stood behind Xiaya, not saying a word, but it was not conspicuous. Bitch, you dare to come to this king's territory. A thunderous voice suddenly came from the palace in front, and at the same time as the voice sounded, a bloody light suddenly shot out from the inside, and in an instant came in front of Xiaya, and transformed into a figure as tall as an iron tower. When he stretched out one hand, he directly pinched Xiaya's neck, and lifted her up high, with a sinister smile on his face, full of killing intent. Xiaya was carried by him without struggling, but just looked at him quietly, not panicking at all, as if she had expected the encounter before her. Do you want to die? Bao Qi stared at Xiaya coldly. Killing a demon king without authorization, the Lord Demon Saints, will not allow it. Xiaya uttered a sentence with difficulty, her face was slightly pale, she was also a demon king, and she seemed to be resisting in front of this. Bao Qi thoughts can't come up. Bao Qi snorted coldly. This is all my people, who would know if I killed you? The devil saints are all healing their wounds, how can they care about your business? Xiaya said. Then you can kill me. Bao Qi's gaze became dangerous, but he still held back his hands and swung him hard. Then Xiaya was thrown out. When she landed, Xiaya coughed violently for a while, then slowly recovered, raised her head and said, Bao Qi, I didn't come here to conflict with you, but to discuss something with you. I have nothing to say to you. Get out quickly, or don't blame me for really killing you. Bao Qi snorted coldly. Xiaya smiled slightly, her red lips twitching. He said something, but no sound came out. Bao Qi was stunned, and looked at Xiaya with a strange expression, obviously a little surprised, and sarcastically said, You are such a bitch. Xiaya didn't take it seriously, and said softly, I'm just a succubus. Foreigners are not easy to deal with. Only by joining forces with you can I hope to survive. For this, I am willing to pay any price. Bao Qi sneered, that's why I look down on you. Xiaya said. Many people look down on me, I only care about whether you agree to my proposal. Bao Qi pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, You have this awareness, what am I afraid of? While speaking, he licked his lips, and a lewd light appeared in his eyes. I have never played with a succubus at the level of a demon king. Xiaya giggled, and walked forward with her waist twisted. Then you will get your wish tonight. Bao Qi laughed loudly, stretched out his arms to wrap around Xiaya's waist, and slapped her hard buttocks hard. Xiaya was infinitely shy. Don't be here. There are a lot of people. Bao Qi said contemptuously, Are you still afraid of crowds? Saying this, he still flickered and flew towards the palace with Xiaya wrapped up. When these two people met just now, they were in a state of incompatibility, but in the blink of an eye, the sky and thunder stirred the ground again. It's just unreasonable. Yang Kai followed without saying a word. In the palace, Bao Qi let go of Sha Ya, glanced back at Yang Kai, and said coldly, "Where did you get the slave?" He could tell at a glance that Yang Kai was not a real demon, but was transformed by the erosion of demonic energy, although there was also demonic energy entangled on the surface of his body. But that alien aura cannot be hidden. Sha Ya chuckled lightly and said, "This guy overestimated his abilities and brought people to attack me, and then I will teach him a lesson, so ignore him." Bao Qi sneered. "I was afraid of crowds just now, but now you are not afraid of people watching you. He's just my slave." Bao Qi stopped talking, but stretched out his hand, and violently tore off the clothes on Sha Ya's body. In an instant, a beautiful white body was exposed in the air, and all kinds of beauties were faintly visible. Sha Ya snorted softly, as if she was blaming Bao Qi for being barbaric, but those beautiful eyes were full of charm, which made people fascinated. Her whole body wrapped around Bao Qi's burly body like a spirit snake, and her plump breasts squeezed on his chest, slightly deformed. Bao Qi sneered, grabbed Sha Yaru's boneless body with one hand, exerted great force, as if wanting to integrate her into his own body, and began to walk wildly with the other hand. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly took a step forward. This abnormal movement alerted Bao Qi and raised his eyes to look at him. Looking into the eyes, the left eye of the foreigner was actually a golden light, and a straight line was full of majesty, which seemed to have the power to take away the soul. Bao Qi was so excited that he was in a trance for a moment. "Bitch," Bao Qi cursed. He never really believed that Sha Ya would join forces with him, he just relied on his own strength to be higher than Sha Ya, and this is his own territory, holding the idea that Beisheng's delicious food will not be eaten for nothing, so he kept playing around thoughts. He believes that Sha Ya can't make any waves under his hands, and the charm of the succubus clan is really difficult to guard against, but as a demon king with good strength, he also has a very high resistance to charm. The first time he hugged Sha Ya was also to prevent her from plotting against him secretly. As long as Sha Ya dared to show any unruly attempts, he would welcome his stormy attack. He never thought that it was not Sha Ya who shot, but the slave she brought. He can probably detect the strength of this slave, and he doesn't pay attention to an existence equivalent to a magic commander. But at this moment, when the demon commander-in-chief Yu made a move, he actually got hit. Under the anger, the demonic energy in his body surged out, and he wanted to kill Sha Ya directly. As for the rules of the demon saints and the possible punishment, he no longer cared about it. Sha Ya was obviously also stunned. Bao Qi didn't expect Yang Kai to do it, and she didn't expect Yang Kai to do it at this time. According to her plan, it should be the best time to do it when she and Bao Qi are turning upside down. Only at that time, men's vigilance will be greatly reduced. Yang Kai's sudden attack was so unexpected that she didn't have time to react. Feeling the violent demonic energy in Bao Qi's body, Sha Ya screamed, and a piercing voice came out. Under the attack of the pure soul's secret technique, Bao Qi was startled again. The next moment, he suddenly saw a budding lotus blooming in front of his eyes, but what came with it was a severe pain in his mind. The condensed demonic energy suddenly dissipated. Bao Qi didn't even have time to roar, he felt his body lose weight for a while, and when he regained control of his body, he was no longer in the familiar palace but came to an inexplicable place. There was nothing in the embrace. Sha Ya took advantage of the moment when his expression was in a trance and escaped. At this moment, his face was full of lingering fear and pale. Yang Kai stood not far away, quietly watching Bao Qi with his hands behind his back. "My lord, what are you doing?" Sha Ya looked at Yang Kai with some complaints, but soon remembered her identity, and said in a gentle tone, "If you want to do it, tell me in advance." "What do I need to tell you to deal with a middle-rank demon king?" Yang Kai glanced at her lightly. Sha Ya didn't dare to say anything, thinking that if I hadn't run fast just now, I'm afraid I would have been killed by Bao Qi now. But she was still shocked. The last time she was dragged into this world by Yang Kai, it was because her demon heart was severely injured, and she was unable to resist for a while. Although this world is weird, she also guessed that Yang Kai couldn't drag people in casually. There must be some conditions or some price must be paid, otherwise he would really be invincible in the world. What else does he need to practice? Bao Qi was much stronger than her. Sha Ya didn't understand how Yang Kai got him in. The situation in front of her made Sha Ya heave a sigh of relief. Since Bao Qi entered this world, life and death are up to him. Thinking of this, Xiaya smiled from the bottom of her heart. Bitch, do you dare to plot against me? Bao Qi remained calm, looking at the world quietly while looking at Xiaya coldly. Xiaya smiled and said, who did I blame by accident? Turning her head to look at Yang Kai, she said, my lord, let me kill him. My lord. Bao Qi narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at Xiaya with disdain and said, you actually call a demon commander your lord? What ability does he have to be above us and other demon kings? Xiaya, you are really depraved. Quote. Xiaya said with a smile, the strength of my family is beyond your imagination. Bao Qi shook his head and said, you are not worthy of the status of demon king. Although his complexion was dull, Bao Qi was a little surprised in his heart. He thought that Xiaya and this foreigner were in a master-servant relationship, but in fact it was the other way around. What kind of special abilities does this demonized commander have? It can actually make a demon king bow down to him. Having said that, his abilities are indeed mysterious, and he was unable to guard against the 2 consecutive divine and soul mysteries just now, and he was accidentally brought to this ghostly place by him. Put on your clothes before talking. Yang Kai glanced at Xiaya. Yes. Xiaya obediently obeyed, quickly took out a new set of clothes and put them on neatly. It was still the same exposure, but it was much better than being naked. Yang Kai turned his head to look at Bao Qi, and said, you can probably guess the situation, there are only 2 roads in front of you. While talking, Yang Kai raised a finger, pointed at Xiaya and said, follow her same, use it for me. Then he raised another finger, pointed at Bao Qi and said, or I will kill you. To be continued. Chapter 2867 The Second Demon King. As soon as Yang Kai said this, the expressions of the 2 demon kings changed. Xiaya was shocked and said, my lord, do you want to accept him? She thought that Yang Kai came here to kill Bao Qi, so she worked very hard. Succubus are a family of grudges, especially female succubi. It is no exaggeration to say that any bit of hatred can be remembered forever. Bao Qi had only humiliated her before, and she never forgot. When Yang Kai asked where the demon king existed, she immediately sold Bao Qi. She thought that Bao Qi would surely die if Yang Kai brought him into this world, and she was secretly pleased, but suddenly heard that Yang Kai had other plans. This rhythm is not good. If Bao Qi was really subdued by Master Wu Niu, wouldn't he want to work with him in the future? Thinking about the scene, Xiaya couldn't accept it. You want to subdue me? Bao Qi also looked at Yang Kai with a funny face, the corner of his mouth was full of teasing, and finally couldn't help laughing, and said disdainfully, rampant alien, although I don't know you, what method do you use to make this bitch submit, but if you plan to subdue me, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. This king is different from this bitch. Xiaya said with a cold face, keep your mouth clean, is it fucked? Bao Qi snorted coldly, glared at her, but didn't bother with her, just watched Yang Kai vigilantly. Although he made up his mind that he would never bow his head to this alien, but this world is indeed a bit weird, he has to be more careful to prevent the boat from turning over in the gutter, and the plan for now is to find out what the hell it is as soon as possible place, and then leave here to make plans. Xiaya, is his bone very hard? Yang Kai suddenly turned his head to the side and asked. Xiaya immediately said, it's so tough, he even dared to contradict Lord Demon Saint. Bao Qi had a proud look on his face, as if it was a very remarkable thing. Xiaya continued, so, my lord, you should stop talking nonsense with him and kill him once and for all. She suggested with a malicious face, and she also had her own plans in her heart, not to mention that she herself was not willing to work with Bao Qi, and if Yang Kai subdued another demon king, then her specialness would be gone. The status in Yang Kai's eyes is bound to be affected. So she wished that Bao Qi would die as soon as possible. Then there is no other way. Yang Kai nodded slightly, decided to cut the mess quickly, raised his hand when speaking, and gently moved towards Bao Qi. Xiaya watched with bright eyes, and cursed continuously from the bottom of her heart, hoping to see the tragic end of Bao Qi being crushed to pieces. Bao Qi also suddenly mobilized his magic power, and jumped forward the moment Yang Kai made a move. Yang Kai shook his raised hand slightly, and Bao Qi was terrified, because he suddenly felt an incredible force bound him tightly, and he was a majestic demon king, as if he suddenly turned into a newborn baby, and was fixed in place without any resistance at all. His eyes trembled violently, his whole body was icy cold, and the demonic energy he mobilized was also suppressed in his body by an invisible force, making him unable to move. Since practicing, he has never encountered such a thing, and Bao Qi couldn't help feeling a little dazed. Xiaya laughed loudly. Here, my lord is the master, and the devil saint is no match, let alone you. 3 months ago, when Yang Kai had tamed her, Xiaoya had said this to her. At that time, Xiaoya didn't take it seriously, thinking it was Yang Kai's nonsense, but the facts proved that he did have the power to dominate everything in this place. But today, when she told Bao Qi this, it was inevitable that she felt a little gloating. Bao Qi's face turned red, obviously he was struggling to resist, but in front of the majestic power of the world, a demon king's resistance was like a mayfly shaking a tree, and he seemed overwhelmed. Yang Kai's left eye changed color again, a piece of golden light shone. He looked into Bao Qi's eyes, activated his soul power, and destroyed Bao Qi's soul defense without hesitation. Bao Qi screamed, his face contorted. Being forced to destroy the soul defense in this way also caused a lot of damage to him. Seeing Bao Qi's miserable appearance, Xiaoya smiled even more viciously, her face was full of pleasure. When Yang Kai's soul was doing whatever he wanted in Bao Qi's sea of consciousness, Bao Qi's eyeballs rolled up, his whole body trembled violently, and his tower-like body was instantly drenched with sweat. After a while, the golden light in Yang Kai's eyes faded. Bao Qi fell to the ground limply, his breath was weak, if he didn't feel it carefully, he might think he was dead. Xiaoya frowned, quite unhappy. Because she found that although Bao Qi was very miserable, Yang Kai didn't really kill him, just planted a brand of spirit in his mind just now, just like how he treated himself back then. It's just that at that time I took the initiative to open the sea of knowledge, but now Bao Qi is forced to accept it, so the treatment is also a little different. But no matter what, the ending was like this. I was afraid that I would really work with Bao Qi in the future, so Xiaoya couldn't help curling her lips. After standing on the spot and waiting for a long time, Bao Kikai regained his strength a little bit, slowly stood up from the ground, raised his eyes and looked at Yang Kai with complicated eyes. As a demon king himself, he was subdued by the existence of the level of the commander-in-chief, and a mark was branded in his mind. Bao Qi could feel that the mark had the ability to control his own life and death. I just laughed at that bitch Xiaoya, but I didn't expect that I would become like her so soon. Yang Kai looked at him and said lightly, if you are not convinced, you can commit suicide. Bao Qi's eyes flickered, but he didn't have the urge to commit suicide. It is not easy for him to cultivate to the realm of the Devil King. How could he want to die? Although there are many people in this world who would rather die than surrender, Bao Qi is definitely not among them. Very good. Yang Kai hooked his mouth, revealing an imperceptible smile. Then from now on, you are mine. Xiaoya pouted even more fiercely. My lord, what are your orders? Bao Qi asked with some difficulty. It was the first time that he called a person whose strength was lower than his own as a lord. Bao Qi couldn't help but feel a little awkward, showing his remaining backbone. Eat this first. Yang Kai threw a jade bottle at him. Xiaoya's beautiful eyes suddenly brightened. Bao Qi reached out to take it, hesitantly said, what is this? Xiaoya snorted, if you want to eat it, you can eat it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? It's okay if you don't want to eat it, just give it to me. The last time I got a panacea from Yang Kai, Xiaoya couldn't forget the taste. It was something she never thought could exist. It's ridiculous that Bao Qi doesn't know the goods, but he is still very vigilant, thinking that it is what poison. He didn't even think about it. Now that the adult has planted a brand in his mind, life and death are at stake, why use any poison? Hearing what she said, Bao Qi immediately understood that this thing might be good. He opened the bottle cap with a sneer, poured the elixir directly into his mouth without even looking at it. The next moment, his expression shook, and he sat down cross-legged involuntarily. The pain on his face caused by the trauma to his soul eased a lot, and instead he showed an extremely happy expression. Xiaoya showed a disappointed look, and turned to look at Yang Kai with a look of expectation. A jade bottle flew towards her, and Xiaoya took it in surprise, with a smile on her face. Thank you for the reward, Xiaoya will definitely work harder. Half an hour later, Bao Qi opened his eyes, still a little shocked on his face. He found that the thing he had just taken had an extremely powerful healing effect, which greatly nourished his wounded soul. Although he hadn't healed yet, but there is no serious problem, and he only needs to rest for a month or two before he recovers, and there will be no sequelae that will affect his future. What the hell is that? Why have I never heard of aliens having such a thing? In a daze, I suddenly heard Yang Kai say, my name is Wu Niu, you can call me whatever you want. Yes, Master Wu Niu. Bao Qi responded respectfully. Now tell me about the deployment of your personnel. As soon as Bao Qi heard this, he guessed what the witch cow had planned. hesitated for a moment, couldn't help but sighed, and exposed his own details without any concealment. He also knew that concealing it would have no effect on the big witch in front of him. After listening, Yang Kai frowned. There are quite a lot of people. There are actually 6,000 or 7,000 people under Bao Qi's command, which has surpassed the current Wenyu department, and more than double the power Xia controlled at that time. After 3 months of fighting and supplementing, the Wenyu department only had 5,000 people. Such a huge number, if it is really confronted head-on, even with the blessing of witchcraft, there will be inevitable casualties on the side of the Wenyu department. After all, it is a war of more than 10,000 people, and it is impossible to have no casualties. After pondering for a while, Yang Kai said, "In this way, you can do this after you go out." Yang Kai sent Bao Qi and Xia out of the mysterious small world together. In the room, Xia looked at Bao Qi with a sneer. "Don't mess it up, or you will look good." As the first demon king to take refuge in Yang Kai, even though Xia's strength is not as good as Bao Qi's, she is still strong enough to stabilize her unique position in Yang Kai's heart. If Xia had said such things before, Bao Qi would have quarreled with her and even fought, but now he is in a bad mood and has no intention of messing with her, so he just nodded slightly and said, "Don't worry, my lord." "Well, then I will wait for the good news." After Yang Kai finished speaking, he winked at Xia, and the two flew out of the palace one after the other, turning into a black air, and rushed out of the city. After the two left, several magic commanders rushed in, and one of the square-faced magic commanders looked at Bao Qi and said, "My lord, what's the matter with that bitch?" Bao Qi looked stern, and said lightly, "It's nothing, I just came to rescue soldiers." Rescue soldiers? Several magic commanders were shocked. Bao Qi said, "There is a group of aliens eyeing her, so she came to ask me for help." While speaking, pointing to the square-faced Mashui who was talking, he said, "Take 2,000 people to see the situation." To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at One Air. Chapter 2868 Get Along Happily. On the tall and mighty Warcraft, the square-faced demon Handsome had a straight waist, with a demonic aura lingering all over his body. He took the lead and walked in front, followed by 2,000 subordinates. Some of the 2,000 people were transformed demons who had no sanity and only knew how to obey orders, and the other part were members of hundreds of demon clans, with mixed races. This is the power he can control now. The team was not moving fast, as if they were not going to fight, but to go on an outing. The square-faced magic commander is not in a hurry, anyway, Master Bao Qi also said, "Just let him take someone to think about it, as for whether he can provide real assistance to Xia, it can only be fate." The square-faced devil actually looks down on that slutty succubus. Of course, the main reason is that some can't eat grapes and say the grapes are sour, and he even has some complaints against Bao Qi. He feels that his own demon king is too fussy. Just to move a rescuer, Mr. Bao Qi actually wants to bring 2,000 people out by himself, which is really a bit too much face. The succubus there must have served Mr. Bao Qi very comfortably, that's why he could get such support. Thinking of this, a wretched smile appeared on the square-faced Moshuai's face. He has also tasted the taste of succubus, it is indeed different, and Xia, as the king of succubus, naturally cannot be compared with other succubus. If one day I can be promoted to the Devil King, I should also taste the taste of that bitch. Just as he was thinking wildly, he suddenly noticed some unusual movements. The square-faced demon commander immediately restrained his mind and looked forward vigilantly. When he saw it, he couldn't help being surprised. "Xia, my lord." He saw Xia, who had just left half a day ago, actually came up from the front, which made him a little confused. He didn't know why this woman went back and forth again, but although he looked down on her in his heart, she was a devil after all. The square-faced Mashui could only maintain the corresponding respect. The monster under his crotch stopped. The 2,000 people behind them also stopped. Bao Qi is still very obedient. Xia's voice was soft, and the smile on her face was somewhat meaningful. The square-faced Moshui frowned, a warning sign in his heart. Xia's attitude and expression made him a little uneasy, and he looked around instinctively. The square-faced Mashui was shocked. Because he discovered that this place was actually an excellent ambush zone, surrounded by mountains, towering into the clouds, and only the front and back could enter and exit. There seemed to be something surrounded from all directions, and the ground trembled slightly. This kind of movement can be felt by the most ordinary demons. Not to mention the square-faced Mashui himself. He listened carefully, His face suddenly changed, and he opened his mouth and shouted, "Prepare for battle." When the words fell, huge black shadows had soared from unknown places, and their spread wings covered the light above their heads. The demons looked up and saw that they were giant eagles one after another. The sound of shoo 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 came out, and one sharp arrow after another shot down from the giant eagle, and dozens of people fell in a pool of blood in an instant. Ambushed. This thought immediately popped into the square-faced Moshuai's mind, but he didn't understand who was ambushing him. And what kind of role did that demon King Xiaya play in it? Didn't I go to rescue this trip? How could he be caught off guard in a daze? Although the Mozu's reaction was quick, the enemy's movements were even faster. After a round of arrow rain, large areas of light suddenly flashed in the jungle in all directions, and the circles of light were colorful, dazzling people's eyes. Dozens of tall monsters rushed out from the side, and the monsters were riding on the backs of burly and strong barbarian warriors, all of them looked stern and murderous. "Alien!" Shouts resounded through the sky. The square-faced demon commander turned the direction of the mount under his crotch, drew out his weapon, and held it high. Just as he was about to shout something to boost his morale, he suddenly smelled an intoxicating fragrance. A bone-soft voice came from behind. "Your head, I accept it." The next moment, the square-faced devil's field of vision suddenly changed direction. Staring blankly at the demon King Xiaya who was wearing revealing clothes in front of him, there was some pain in his neck. When he looked down, a headless corpse was falling from the back of the monster. The battle was imminent, and the square-faced demon commander was suddenly killed. All the demons who saw this scene were dumbfounded. They all looked at Xiaya absent-mindedly, their minds were muddled. Xiaya giggled, her figure flickered, turned into a cloud of black air, and floated into the distance. But at this time, the barbarians blessed with various witchcrafts had already surrounded them, and the cavalry who had charged ahead charged into the enemy group. They were like a broken bamboo, and when the cold light flickered, one demon after another fell down. The 10 regular squads that followed also blocked the surrounding space airtightly, as if they would never let any of the demons go. The war started in an instant, with 5,000 people against 2,000 people, prepared to face sudden changes, and the ending seemed to be doomed. In midair, Xiaoya's figure reappeared, holding the handsome square-faced head in his hand, and said crisply, "My lord, my mission has been completed." Yang Kai nodded slightly, his eyes cast deep down, and Dai stood quietly behind him, like a shadow. The battle has been heated up from the very beginning, and the Wunyu tribe who were about to charge came with the mentality of exterminating this demon team, and the demons who were attacked after the sneak attack did not have the guidance of the magic commander, but they also well trained and grouped together, while resisting the mad attack of the Wunyu department, while looking for possible vitality. There were screams, corpses fell one by one, the smell of blood rose into the sky, and pieces of meat and limbs flew across. The demons suffered heavy casualties, but the Wunyu tribe had no casualties at all. After 3 months of continuous fighting, the Wunyu department has become familiar with the rhythm of the war, and they can cooperate with each other to complement each other, and they are each other's horns. Although they have a huge advantage in terms of terrain and numbers, no one is too hasty. Gradually eroding the defense line of the demons, driving them to the end bit by bit. Yang Kai only looked at it for less than a cup of tea, and then retracted his gaze, and he didn't need to worry about the rest. He even said that he didn't worry much about this battle, he just asked Bao Qi to send 2,000 people into his encirclement, and let Xiaya kill the square-faced magic commander, and everything else was Wunyu all one by themselves. Xiaya was holding a head in his hand, feeling rather bored, he threw it down casually. An hour later, the dust settled. No need for Yang Kai to issue another order, the team captains of the Wunyu division immediately counted the damage, and more than a dozen witches also began to treat the wounded. After resting in place for half a day, the Wunyu tribe set off and moved forward, leaving behind a messy battlefield, and stationed in place after 30 miles. 3 days later, another team of 2,000 people dispatched by Bao Qi entered the encirclement of the Wunyu department. The situation of the war was almost the same as 3 days ago. The clan had no strength to fight back, so they were beaten dumbfounded, and then the whole army was wiped out. In every battle, the Wunyu department will lose some manpower, but it will also get more replenishment. There are many demons on the demon side who were eroded by demonic energy and then transformed into demons. After 3 months of research, the Yulu twins have mastered some tricks and methods, and the number of people who have been rescued is increasing, and the success rate is also increasing. This is excellent news. It was another 3 days of rest time, and after the bloodthirsty postoperative sequelae of the clansmen disappeared, Yongkai immediately led the Wunyu tribe to march towards the demon city in a mighty manner. Bao Qi originally had 6,000 or 7,000 men under his command, but he lost 4,000 in the 2 ambush battles, and now there are only 2,000 remaining in the city. Such a number is no longer a cause for concern. When the Wunyu tribe arrived at the demon city, many demon races were in an uproar. It seemed that they did not expect these aliens to be so bold. Although the number of people seems to be large, the demons still don't take the Wunyu tribe seriously. Because they have a demon king sitting in the city, many demons stood on the city wall, pointing at the crowd below and mocking and ridiculing, as if Bao Qi could completely annihilate these thousands of enemies with a single move. What happened next made them stunned and shocked. Master Bao Qi did appear, but it was not the scene they imagined, killing thousands of aliens by themselves, but opened the city gate respectfully, allowing the aliens to drive straight in and kill the demons wantonly in the city. Many demons couldn't believe it was true before they died. In front of the city gate, Lord Bao Qi, who was high in their eyes, was lowering his head, talking to a young man covered in blackness, with a respectful attitude as if he was facing a demon saint. Many people recognized that young man. He was the guy who came here with the demon king Xiaya a few days ago, and everyone thought he was Xiaoya's slave at that time. But now it seems that this is not the case at all, because even Xiaoya is standing behind him, maintaining the corresponding respect. This was a muddle-headed war, and the demons were completely annihilated for no reason. From the beginning to the end, Bao Qi had no plans to rescue them. In just an hour, the demons stationed in the city were wiped out, and even the sand demons who were most proficient in life-saving were unable to escape. Corpses were lying in the streets and alleys, which was extremely tragic. Everyone from the Wunyu department cleaned up the battlefield, and Yongkai and Bao Qi came to the palace they had visited last time. Xiaoya will tell you what to do next. I want to retreat and practice, don't bother me if nothing happens. After Yongkai said something, he found a wing and walked in, leaving Bao Qi looking at Xiaoya unconvinced. Xiaoya pursed her lips and smiled, and said in a strange way, I hope we can get along happily in the future. Bao Qi's face was dark, thinking that he would be a ghost if he could be happy. He was not willing to obey Xiaoya's order, but with Yongkai's words first, he didn't dare to disobey. He just felt very uncomfortable all over his body, as if ate a dead fly. To be continued. Opening parenthesis closing parenthesis. Chapter 2869 Daring. C_T. At the beginning, the land controlled by Xiaoya had a radius of 10,000 li, and it took the Wunyu department 3 months to wipe out all the demons on that land. But Bao Qi controlled a larger territory, more than several times that of Xiaoya, and naturally he controlled more demons. In addition to the 6,000 or 7,000 people stationed in the city, there are also about the same number of others scattered outside. Just half a month, with the city as the center, all the demons within a radius of 50,000 miles were slaughtered. All the demons stationed outside were recalled by Bao Qi for the same reason, and then the witch is surrounded by cattle. There is no power to resist, and the efficiency is simply not comparable to that of the previous 3 months. Both Bao Qi and Xiaoya were guessing who would be the next unlucky devil king. They kept thinking about those devil kings who had offended them in their minds, and they were going to present their names to Mr. Wu Niu so that they would fall. The same fate as myself. Just when the two of them labeled the demon kings as slaves in their hearts, Yongkai suddenly left the customs, summoned the two of them, and gave an order that made the two demon kings feel horrified and uneasy. Without giving them a chance to question, Yongkai turned around and left, leaving Bao Qi and Xiaoya staring at each other, and suddenly they all shivered. This method, is it too extreme? What if it doesn't work? Xiaoya was a little worried about gain and loss. Bao Qi also lost the intention of confronting her tit for tat. Although he has always disliked Xiaoya these days, he agrees with Xiaoya on this issue, and always wants to persuade Lord Wu Niu not to be so impulsive. But after much deliberation, he still didn't have the courage, and could only sigh in the end. Since your lord has an order, then we can only obey it. Xiaoya, you have to help me with this matter. Xiaoya immediately jumped away. Your Excellency wants you to do this, I will not interfere. Please go to the latest chapter of this book. Bao Qi said. We are now grasshoppers on a rope, and no one can get away with it. Xiaoya chuckled. Since the Lord only asked you to do this, he naturally has his plan. If he wants me to help you, he will say it clearly before. If I help you, I'm afraid it will ruin the Lord thing. Bao Qi frowned, although he thought it was Sha Ya's excuse, but it was not unreasonable. He sighed and had to go down to prepare. Unlike Sha Ya, he had very little contact with that witch cow. He has been practicing in seclusion since he returned to the city half a month ago. He sees everything. And this sense of mystery of keeping a distance made Bao Qi more and more afraid of that witch cow. Not long after, at the city wall, Bao Qi was filled with devilish energy, and the devilish energy was separated from his body like living creatures, and then twisted and changed in midair, turning into black crows, circling and flying, croaking. With a wave of Bao Qi's hand, the black crows flew out in all directions, and there were more than 20 of them in number. Looking at the direction where many black crows were leaving, Bao Qi suddenly shivered. If this strategy is successful, the demons will probably suffer heavy losses. Although it will not affect the foundation, it will definitely hit morale. The next few days were uneventful. The Wunyu tribe who had no battles were recharging their energy in the city, and Yongkai also stayed behind closed doors, working hard to hit the Wu King realm. The laws of heaven and earth in the ancient world were different, and a special group like witches was born, but no matter how many roads lead to the highest peak, the ultimate destination is one. Yongkai has the background of the Emperor Senior Realm, and the method of cultivating witches in this ancient world has made him understand a lot. The more he cultivates, the more he realizes his previous weaknesses. He believes that if he has the opportunity to go out from this secret realm, if so, even if one's own cultivation base does not increase, the strength will increase greatly. 5 days later, Yongkai left the customs. Bao Qi and Sha Ya respectfully guarded the door. "Let's go," Yongkai signaled, and walked forward first, and the 2 demon kings followed respectfully. After a long day, Yongkai stopped on a piece of wilderness. Looking around, there were no people around, and it was extremely empty. "This is the place you chose?" Yongkai asked. "Yes," Bao Qi replied respectfully, hesitated for a moment and said, "If you think there is a problem, you can change it." "No need, just here." Yongkai nodded, took a deep breath, opened his mouth, and spit out a round bead. Both Bao Qi and Sha Ya looked around curiously, wondering what the purpose of this bead was. Warcraft and wild beasts on this land all have inner alchemy, but they have never heard that witches also have inner alchemy. Moreover, there is an extremely strange power emanating from this round bead, which doesn't look like an inner alchemy either. Just when they were puzzled, the bead suddenly spun, and the speed became faster and faster. Suddenly, the spinning bead disappeared, replaced by a vortex visible to the naked eye, and inside the vortex was chaos and nothingness, devouring lose all the light. It seems to be able to lead to another mysterious world. Both Bao Qi and Sha Ya were stunned, but soon realized. The world that this vortex leads to is obviously the place they have been to before. In that world, this Lord Wu Niu is omnipotent, comparable to a real god. It turned out that that world was transformed by a bead. What kind of beads possess such strange abilities? What kind of treasure is this? I'm afraid even the Lord Demon Saints don't have such a treasure in their hands, do they? Shocked, Bao Qi still said, "My lord, with all due respect, although this entrance looks mysterious, it may not be able to deceive those demon kings. Demon kings have always been vigilant. I said this is the place where the ancient saints fell. They may not believe it." According to Yongkai's previous plan, Bao Qi sent the news, saying that he had discovered the place where the ancient sages of the demon race had fallen. When the demon race invaded last time, there were indeed demon saints who fell. This statement is also well-founded, so it should arouse the interest of many demon kings. The place where the devil saint fell may contain the secret that can make the devil king sanctify, but all the devil kings who still pursue power must not be able to restrain their curiosity and want to come and check it out. As long as those demon kings can be tricked into entering this entrance and going to that world, no matter how many of them there are, they will all be crushed by Yongkai and eventually become slaves. Bao Qi has always felt that this plan is too risky and has little hope of success, so he was a little reluctant when he delivered the news before, and even wanted to drag Sha Ya into the water. Looking at it now, it really is. He has already passed the news, and he also believes that there will be many demon kings coming to the appointment, but the whirlpool in front of him doesn't look like the place where the ancient saints fell. It looks like a trap, which demon king will go in foolishly. Yongkai smiled and said, "What you said makes sense, but if this is the case." While speaking, Yongkai's expression suddenly turned serious, and then, a surging and extremely pure devilish energy suddenly escaped from his body, and Bao Qi and Sha Ya were startled the moment they sensed this devilish energy, feeling anxious and uneasy deep inside. Because this breath is even incomparable to the demonic energy of the two of them, it is the magical energy that only demon saints can possess. My lord, are you a demon? Bao Qi suddenly shouted excitedly, his face excited. After being subdued by Yang Kai for so many days, although he has accepted his fate, he is still a little unhappy in his bones, but he dare not show it easily. After all, it is a shame that I am a demon king, yet being subdued by a foreigner, and only Xia, a shameless bitch, feels indifferent. The demon king has the pride and dignity of a demon king. At this moment, he suddenly felt the pure magic energy in the young man in front of him, and Bao Qi couldn't help being excited. That is the breath of the real old sage. Could it be said that this young man is a descendant of the old ones? That's right, the last time the demons invaded this land, they did leave some scattered blood. It is said that among the aliens, there is a tribe called the Bone Eater, which has the blood of the demon race. If Master Wu Niu really has the blood of the old sage in his body, and is a descendant of the old sage, then it is not a shame to be subdued by him. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was possible. Bao Qi's eyes lit up, and it was the first time that he felt that Yang Kai was so kind. Xia also opened her mouth wide, and stood there dumbfounded. A flash of inspiration flashed in his mind, and he finally understood why the blood of his demon heart a few months ago had no effect on Mr. Wu Niu. Since there is such a pure demonic energy hidden in his body, how can his own demonic blood be effective? Is he really a demon? But these days, he led the aliens to slaughter countless demons, and he didn't show any soft-heartedness. Why, since you are the demons, why do you want to fight against the demons? In any case, the pure demon energy flowing out of Yang Kai's body at this moment cannot be faked. Faced with the shock and inquiry of the two demon kings, Yang Kai just smiled lightly, without answering. His mysterious appearance made Xia and Bao Qi feel unbearable. Of course he is not a demon, and the demonic energy that is mobilized at this moment is just the ancient troll's energy that is sealed in the Dantian. If he didn't have the method of cultivating witches, Yang Kai didn't dare to stimulate this force at will, so as not to break the seal and become enchanted by accident. But the witch's method seems to have the ability to suppress demons, so it is not a big problem to just draw out some demon energy now. As long as the seal is not completely released, he will not be in danger of becoming demons. The pure ancient giant demon chi flew out from Yang Kai's hands, slowly covering the vortex. In an instant, the vortex leading to mysterious Shaoji became more demonic, as if there was some huge secret about the demons hidden there, attracting any demons to investigate. Even Bao Qi and Xia felt that if they hadn't seen Yang Kai's hands and feet with their own eyes and found this place by accident, they would definitely find a way to go in and have a look. Bao Qi looked serious, and said with admiration, "In this way, we can fool those devil kings." For mobile phone users, please visit opening parenthesis closing parenthesis. Chapter 2870 Gathering of Demons. C_T. On the wilderness, in front of the entrance of the fallen land of the demon sage disguised in Shaoxuanji, Bao Qi sat cross-legged alone, with his eyes closed, as if he was waiting for someone. The vortex entrance that was visible to the naked eye was also opened by Yang. The method of casting is hidden in the void, and it is easily undetectable, and only the strong at the level of the Devil King can feel the pure magic energy coming from the void. Opening parenthesis single quote closing parenthesis. Both Yang Kai and Xia disappeared. After waiting for less than half a day, Bao Qi suddenly opened his eyes, looked deeply at the void in front of him, and said in a deep voice, "Come and come, is it shameful to hide your head and show your tail?" There was a sudden burst of weird laughter in the void, and then a group of black shadows appeared out of thin air. The person who came was covered with pure magic energy, covering his body shape, so he couldn't see his face clearly, and he couldn't even tell whether he was a man or a woman. That voice is a neutral voice full of magnetism, which seems to contain a strange magic power. Makoto. Bao Qi narrowed his eyes, and immediately recognized the identity of the visitor. Shadow Demon Makoto, the strongest existence of the Shadow Demon clan. His true strength is even stronger than him. The Shadow Demon clan is good at stealth and assassination, and Makoto, who is the Devil King, is even more outstanding among them. Among all the Demon Kings, he may not be the strongest one, but he is definitely the most difficult one. Because once being targeted by him, no matter how powerful the devil is, he would not dare to say that he can survive. He can always find the most suitable time for sneak attack, and the best place to give the enemy a fatal blow. Bao Qi didn't expect that the first person to come here was the Shadow Demon Makoto, which made him a little nervous. In a face-to-face confrontation, he is not afraid of the opponent, but this guy has always been elusive, and if it is really a life-and-death battle, Bao-chi feels that he can only poke his neck. It seems that I came quite early. Mokido laughed, and his temper seemed to be extremely jumpy. Even though his figure was wrapped in black air, Bao-chi still felt that his eyes were staring at him. You said there is a place where the ancient saints fell. Where is it? Why didn't I see it? Behind me. Feel it carefully. Bao-chi remained calm. As expected, Makoto searched carefully and immediately found the hidden entrance. He couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise, apparently also aware of the pure demonic energy. His tone suddenly became serious. Can you be sure that this is the place where the ancient sages fell? Bao-chi snorted softly. What else can such an obvious feature be? But I can't guarantee it, there is always an 80% certainty. Mokido didn't respond, and seemed to admit Bao-chi's statement. Before he went in, no one dared to guarantee it 100%. Please go to the latest chapter of this book, but the escaping breath is really itchy. How did you discover such a hidden place? Makoto asked seemingly casually, but Bao-chi knew that it was because of his caution. This is my territory, and I discovered it by accident. Bao-chi was naturally prepared for such a question. You're lucky. Since you found out, why didn't you go in and have a look? Instead you invited me over. If I'm not wrong, you must have invited other people too, right? Of course you're not the only one. Bao-chi replied slowly, but I don't know how many will come in the end. After all, this is the place where the ancient saints fell. Of course there may be secrets that make me wait for the saints, but there may also be it's dangerous. I, Bao-chi, haven't lived enough, and I want to live a few more years. I don't dare to go in alone. Mokechuo sneered, seemingly sarcastic, wrapped in black air. Constantly investigate around the vortex entrance. Bao-chi said, if you want, you can go in and have a look now. I believe that with your shadow demon skills, there shouldn't be too much danger. He wished that Mokechuo could not hold back and directly dived into that world. As long as he entered, life and death would be beyond his control. Mokechuo seemed to be a little tempted by his proposal. He stopped still, and after thinking for a while, he refused. Let's wait for other people to come together. You haven't lived enough. I haven't lived enough either. It is suspected that the ancient sage's fallen place must be somewhat dangerous. How could he be willing to take the lead for others? Bao Qian let out a sigh and said no more. Continue to close your eyes and adjust your breath. Mokido walked around the neighborhood a few times in a bored manner, and he was a little bored, so he simply stayed beside Bao Qi, motionless, like a shadow. The two waited here for 2 days, and demon kings kept rushing here. These demon kings are all the best among all ethnic groups. Even if Bao Qi has not dealt with some of them much, he is familiar with their names. The number of people coming was beyond his expectation, which made him a little nervous. He thought it would be good to have 10 people here at his invitation. After all, the demon kings are not idle, not to mention that he is not familiar with some of them, but it has only been 2 days and 15 demon kings have come. More than half of them are stronger than his strength. It seems that I still underestimated the attraction of becoming a saint to everyone. With so many demon kings, can Mr. Wu Niu eat them? Don't steal chickens and lose money by then. Many demon kings gathered together, and all of a sudden, the wilderness was full of demonic energy. Naturally, every demon king who came here would first ask Bao Qi about the situation here, and then check it himself, and then stay after confirming that it is correct. It has to be said that the vortex entrance created by Yongkai is quite decent, at least it did not arouse the suspicion of any demon king. It's rare to get together, so there are naturally acquainted demon kings chatting loudly, bragging to each other about how many strong alien races they have killed, how many alien beauties they have captured. The excitement of talking is even more spit, and the slightest verbal conflict is even more embarrassing. Open posture, ready to fight anytime, anywhere. Fortunately, everyone is relatively restrained. Even if there is a conflict, it is a mouthful, and there is no real fight. Bao Qi, what are we waiting for? A fiery demon king suddenly stood in front of Bao Qi. The scorching flame seemed to melt the void. This guy looked different from other demon kings. His skin and flesh were extremely red, like lava in a volcano. Balrog Levine. Among the many demon kings, his strength is in the middle and upper reaches, and his temper is also relatively irritable. After waiting for 2 days, he couldn't help feeling a little anxious. The other demon kings also looked at Bao Qi inquiringly. Although Bao Qi is not the strongest among this group of demon kings, or even average, this is his territory after all. He initiated it, and everyone will give him some face. Bao Qi looked around and said, the deadline for the agreed date is tomorrow, but since everyone is in a hurry, let's start now. Anyway, the number of people is almost the same. Those who didn't come are considered unlucky. What do you think? The demon kings naturally have no objection. There are 15 demon kings gathered here. Even if there is any danger in the land where the ancient saints fell, they will not be helpless with their abilities. On the contrary, the more people there are, the greater the competition. Who knows what is inside? Condition. Bao Qi's proposal was quickly accepted by everyone. Just when Bao Qi was about to say something more, a delicate voice suddenly came from far and near. Oh, I'm late, I'm so sorry, brothers. When the words fell, Xiaya appeared in the sight of all the demon kings with a variety of styles, and came close in a few steps. Seeing Xiaya appear in time, Bao Qi secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and the two men's eyes met, and everything was kept silent. Trash! A low shout came suddenly, and then a tall skeleton suddenly stepped towards Xiaya. There is no flesh and blood on the skeleton, the bones are pitch black, as if stained with ink, except for the eyes, there are eerie will-o'-the-wisps beating. Bone Demon Fillet. As he spoke, he greeted Xiaya with a dangerous breath. This sudden change surprised both Bao Qi and Xiaya. They didn't know why Fili didn't want to see Xiaya. Although the reputation of succubus has not been very good, but I have never heard of any conflicts between Fili and Xiaya. Bao Qi cast a questioning look at Xiaya, but Xiaya's expression was full of innocence. While she was hesitating, Fili had already walked in front of Xiaya, stretched out his big skeleton hand, pinched Xiaya's slender and fair neck, and held it up high. Xiaya couldn't breathe immediately and struggled hard, like a child with no strength, not a powerful demon king. Xiaya is also helpless. If it is other demon kings, she still has some ways to save herself, but she has no ability to resist at all when facing the bone demon Fili who has no flesh and blood and no emotions. The charm she is good at has no effect on the bone demons. What are you doing? Xiaya couldn't break free, her face flushed, she could only ask with difficulty, with a pitiful look. All the demon kings watched indifferently, and no one showed any pity for Xiaya. Everyone knew that she was so pitiful, but she was just a disguise. You have betrayed the trust of the demon saints, and you still have the face to live. Fili opened and closed his dark jaw and made a strange sound. As soon as this remark came out, both Xiaya and Bao Qi were startled, wondering if it was exposed that they were subdued by Master Wu Niu. But it's not right. If it is really exposed, then Bao Qi will definitely not be safe and sound, and has already been attacked by other demon kings. But if that wasn't the case, why did Philip target Xiaya in this way? What do you mean? Xiaya asked with a livid face, half of which was tortured by Philip, and half of which was to hide the uneasiness in her heart. Fei Li, Xiaya is a demon king after all. We all want to know how she failed the trust of the demon saints. Do you know anything? A demon king jumped out and asked. Everyone else also paid attention to Philip. Fei Li snorted coldly, and said, the territory she ruled has already fallen, and the 3,000 clansmen under her command have all been wiped out. Isn't such a guy a waste? Shouldn't he die? To be continued. Mobile phone users please visit m. Opening parenthesis closing parenthesis. Chapter 2871 Please enter the urn. All the devil kings were taken aback when they heard the words, firstly because of the information Fili told, and secondly because they didn't know anything about it. Novels. They have also dealt with aliens, know what kind of methods those aliens with rough physique and savage flesh have, and have personally beheaded some so-called strong among them, so I don't think there is anything difficult to deal with aliens. If it weren't for the orders of the demon saints to defend before retreating to heal their wounds, they would have taken the initiative to conquer this land long ago. Now suddenly hearing Fei Li say that Xiaya's territory has fallen and all his clansmen have been wiped out, he is naturally a little surprised. No way, can aliens be so powerful? Yes, Fei Li, did you make a mistake? Although Xiaya's strength is not high, she is still a demon king. How can a foreigner have such great abilities? Several demon kings who didn't know the truth questioned it, but more demon kings chose to stand on the sidelines. Facing the doubts, Fei Li just sneered. If you just ask her, you will know. I have no grievances with her, so why should I target her? The eyes of a group of demon kings immediately looked towards Xiaya. Xiaya knew that she couldn't hide it, so she could only say shyly, Fei Li is right, the territory I ruled has indeed fallen, and all 3,000 clansmen under him died in battle. This is my negligence and incompetence. Hearing Sha Ya's confession with his own ears, the demon kings who questioned before immediately fell silent, and everyone looked at Sha Ya gradually with indifference, which was a kind of contemptuous indifference. Ever since they invaded this land and the alien races resisted until now, it seems that they have suffered too much loss. Even if the aliens had occasional victories, they were just insignificant victories, and every demon king had never tasted the taste of defeat. But on Sha Ya's side, not only did they lose their territory, but even the clansmen died cleanly. This is simply a disgrace to the demon clan. She did live up to Lord Demon Saint's expectations, such a failure is enough to disqualify her from being a demon king. Damn her. Fei Li's voice became colder, as if he felt that Sha Ya's defeat had caused him a lot of embarrassment. This time, no one spoke for Sha Ya. Even Bao Qi didn't dare to speak casually, lest people see any flaws. Sha Ya was still held up in the air, feeling the strength of Fei Li's big hand, couldn't help laughing. I really deserve to die. But I want to tell you that my people did not sacrifice in vain. They and tens of thousands the aliens fought bloody battles to the death, no one retreated and escaped, and they made the aliens pay a huge price before they died. This was heard in Bao Qi's ears. Of course she knew she was talking nonsense. But the expressions of the other demon kings were startled, as if they saw the 3,000 tribesmen desperately resisting and uncompromisingly surrounded by enemies several times their own, but in the end they were destroyed because of uneven strength, and the coldness on their faces melted away some. Then why didn't you accompany them to die? Fei Li didn't seem to be moved, only the will-o'-the-wisps in his eyes twitched slightly. Sha Ya opened her mouth and didn't try to quibble, she just said, "You kill me, I lost my territory and clansmen, and I really don't have the qualifications to be the Devil King anymore." She no longer struggles. A look of being slaughtered. The will-o'-the-wisps in Fei Li's eyes suddenly turned cold, and he nodded slightly. "You still have a little shame at last, don't worry, I will give you a good time." As he was speaking, just as he was about to give Sha Ya a fatal blow, Bao Qi, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, "Wait a minute." Fei Li turned his head to look at him. Sha Ya couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief in her heart, but she didn't move a bit on her face. She still had that expression of death is home, so as not to let others see her timidity. Fei Li said nothing. He just looked at Bao Qi, as if he wanted to hear his opinion on this matter. Of course, pleading is useless to him, since he is determined to kill Sha Ya. Anyone who comes to intercede will not have any effect, unless the Lord Demon Saints give orders. Sha Ya deserves to die, but she shouldn't die at our hands. Bao Qi said calmly, pointing to the disguised entrance while speaking, "Why don't we let her go in and be a vanguard to see what's going on inside? I believe that everyone is unwilling to be the first to go in, right?" As soon as this statement came out, the eyes of all the demon kings lit up. They looked at each other, and several of them lowered their heads and talked for a few words, and nodded one after another, obviously thinking that this was a good idea. The land where the ancient sages fell is indeed very attractive to the demon kings, but the unknown makes everyone somewhat uneasy. Even the ancient sages have fallen in it, there must be some risks in it. Although everyone didn't talk about it carefully before, everyone thought in their hearts, who will be the first to go in later? It is undeniable that this is an extremely dangerous thing. The first person to enter may encounter different opportunities, but it is more likely to encounter dangers that are difficult to guard against. All the demon kings cherish their lives, and no one is so stupid as to volunteer to find the way for others. But right now there is a good candidate. Philip didn't move, the wisps dancing in his eyes became much calmer, as if he was thinking about something. Bao Qi hit the iron while it was hot. "If you want to kill her, Fei Li, I will not stop her, but you have to be the first to go in." According to Bao Qi's previous plan, he took the initiative to ask Ying to be a vanguard to dispel everyone's doubts. Anyway, he also knew where the whirlpool in front of him led, and there was definitely no danger. But if you do that, your persuasiveness and credibility will be greatly reduced. After all, this land where the ancient saints fell was discovered by yourself. But it would be different if Sha Ya did it. As long as she goes crazy inside and then comes back, no one will have any doubts anymore. Fei Li snorted coldly, stretched out his hand, and threw Sha Ya heavily on the ground, opening and closing his pitch-black jaw. "Sha Ya, you heard me. I won't kill you this time, but you have to prove the value of your existence." Sha Ya coughed lightly, stroking her neck with her hands, and took a while to recover. She raised her eyes and looked at the demon kings, with a pleading expression, as if she was unwilling to be the pioneer, but who would care about her. In the end, Xiaya could only sigh, urging her demonic energy to walk towards the place where the whirlpool was. All the demon kings held their breath and watched, but Xiaya suddenly stopped and said, "If I don't come back within an hour, it means there is danger inside." When the words fell, Xiaya rushed into the whirlpool, was swallowed by a piece of chaos and nothingness, and disappeared. In front of the vortex, the demon kings waited silently, but each pair of eyes was fixed on the direction of the entrance, with a look of expectation on their faces. Xiaya said that if she didn't come back within an hour, it meant that there was danger inside, but if she really didn't come back within an hour, the demon kings present would probably not give up easily, and would only think of a safer way to enter and investigate some. At the same time, in Mysterious Small World, Yang Kai looked at Xiaya who walked in, and nodded, "You guys are doing very well." Xiaya was startled, only then did she realize that even if Yang Kai was hiding inside, she knew everything about what was going on outside, and thought to herself that fortunately, she didn't have any wrong thoughts just now, otherwise what she had to face now would definitely be a violent storm. It was Bao Qi who responded appropriately, "And I almost broke things." Xiaya didn't dare to take credit for it. Yang Kai shook his head and said, "There will always be some small accidents, but it's okay, this is more perfect than the previous plan." Xiaya smiled and said, "Then I'll wait here for half an hour, and then go out and tell them there's no danger here." Yang Kai Dao. There is no basis for talking, this alone is not enough to make them lose their minds and rush in without thinking about their own lives. Xiaya wondered. Then what should I do? You will know later. Yang Kai smiled mysteriously. He didn't make it clear, Xiaya didn't dare to ask, and could only stand there quietly, waiting for the passage of time. After more than half an hour, above the wilderness, the demon kings who were quietly watching the entrance of the vortex were suddenly shocked, as if they had discovered something, and their eyes were more and more focused on the vortex. Under their gaze, a strange ripple suddenly appeared in the vortex, and a graceful and exposed figure appeared from it, with a small short tail behind it. "Come out." Balrog's expression lifted, and he whispered. Xiaya came out of it safely. In other words, even if the place where the ancient sages fell is a bit dangerous, it won't make the demon kings helpless. This is excellent news. The other demon kings also had excited expressions, but they were also a little puzzled. Because Xiaya actually came out of the vortex with her back facing them, not only that, but also appeared at an extremely slow speed, as if there was some force pulling her at the other end of the vortex. "What's going on?" someone asked. "What is Xiaya doing? If you want to come out quickly, what are you doing showing your butt? Is she trying to seduce us? Ha ha ha, I have to say, this butt is really sticky, it must feel good." A group of people chattered and spoke vulgarly. Philly suddenly shouted, "She's in trouble." At this moment, Xiaya's demonic energy shook, and her whole body jumped out, leaving only her arms in the vortex, as if she was holding something tightly, trying to get that thing out of the vortex. "Drag it out. Quick, help." Xiaya turned her head and shouted at the demon kings. No one moved, no one knew exactly what kind of trouble Xiaya had encountered, and if she got caught accidentally because of helping, the loss outweighed the gain. "What are you doing?" Bao Qi was more anxious than the other demon kings. "The current plan is going very smoothly. As long as Xiaya comes out and tells everyone that there is no danger inside, I believe everyone will go in and check it out, and his mission will be completed by then." But just at this juncture, Xiaya actually made a fuss again. This made him anxious and angry, wondering if this was Master Wu Niu's plan, or Xiaya's own initiative. "Holy artifact," Xiaya said in astonishment, "I have caught the holy artifact." "What?" The expressions of the demon kings changed drastically. To be continued. Chapter 2872 The Battle of the Holy Artifacts. Sacred artifacts are treasures that demon saints are qualified to control, and there are not many in the entire demon realm, all of which possess the power to destroy heaven and earth. Yi Xiao said. As a demon king, everyone has more or less seen some sacred artifacts, and felt the destructive power fluctuations transmitted from those treasures, so they naturally have some understanding of the sacred artifacts. At this moment, when Xiaya suddenly heard that she had caught the holy artifact, she was a little dazed, and her first reaction was that she couldn't believe it. But Xiaya's appearance doesn't seem to be fake, she really caught something. So after a moment of hesitation, several big armed demon kings rushed up, stood beside Xiaya, and grabbed the vortex with their hands. Under their hands, there was nothingness, nothing existed at all. Several people turned their heads and looked at Xiaya suspiciously. Xiaya said anxiously, "Grab my hand." Those demon kings came to their senses and grabbed Xiaya's arms one after another. As soon as you made a move, they all looked shocked, because they really felt a huge force in front of them to contend with Xiaya. They all let out a low growl, and the devilish energy surged. Xiaya immediately took a step back like a god, and immediately pulled out her arms that had been hidden in the vortex. In the next moment, more than a dozen pairs of eyes looked at an object in Xiaya's hand in shock and greed. Strictly speaking, this object has not been completely pulled out, only a part of it is exposed. This is the handle of a weapon. No one knows what kind of weapon it is, but the exposed part exudes an extremely pure and strong devilish energy. That is a higher level existence than the demonic energy of the demon kings. It's really a sacred artifact. A demon king whispered to himself, his eyes turned red instantly, and the other demon kings also had excited expressions. Although the contents of the vortex have not been completely drawn out, but only a glimpse, but with the eyesight of so many demon kings present, no one doubts anything. This is definitely a sacred weapon that can only be controlled by a demon saint. At this time of shock and stupefaction, a more powerful force suddenly came out from the vortex. The power was so strong that it made several demon kings feel irresistible. They all exclaimed, and the demon energy in their bodies was disordered. And Xiaya let out a scream, blood flew from her snow-white hands, and her body suddenly fell back. She fell to the ground, and even the demon kings who helped her just staggered back. The vortex in front of it returned to calm again, and the half of the unknown holy artifact disappeared without a trace, but all the demon kings still stared at the vortex, as if they wanted to look into the depths. Look for traces of the holy artifact. Xiaya's gasping sound brought people back to their senses, and then the demon kings remembered to look at her, wanting to ask about the situation. Looking into it, Xiaya's hands were bloody, and the white bones were exposed on the palms. It was obvious that he had suffered some injuries in the confrontation with the holy weapon just now. Such injuries looked miserable, but for a demon king it's not a big deal. What is worth paying attention to is the distinctive trace of magic energy lingering in Xiaya's wound. Every devil is watching, and every devil's expression is extremely excited. Because they saw that trace of demonic energy was the breath left by the holy vessel, which let everyone know that what was born just now was not the water moon mirror flower. Xiaya really pulled out a holy artifact from there, but it was a pity that he failed at the last moment, and couldn't see the true face of holding the holy artifact, which was a bit regrettable. "Xiaya, what kind of holy artifact is that?" Shadow Demon asked. He was always able to keep calm, but his voice trembled a little at this moment, which showed his excitement. Xiaya's eyes flashed with memories. "A warhammer." "Warhammer." The demon kings took a deep breath. Bao Qi said in a deep voice, "What did you see? Is there any danger inside?" Xiaya shook her head and said, "There is no danger. It seems to be a very special world. I saw the holy artifact, and I also saw the corpse of the old sage." The eyes of the demon kings all lit up, and they all turned their heads to look at the whirlpool. Although Xiaya brought back not much information, but this is enough, and that short-lived holy artifact has brought fatal attraction to many demon kings. Bao Qi took a deep breath and said loudly, "Everyone should have heard it, since there is no danger inside." Before he finished speaking, the shadow demon suddenly let out a strange laugh, but what surprised all the demon kings was his voice actually came from the other side, and when he looked over there again, he saw the shadow demon dodging into the vortex, and the black shadow left outside was obviously a cover-up. When he entered the vortex, he collapsed. "Makoto!" Bone Demon Feely yelled, not to be outdone, and chased after him in an instant. Seeing this, how could the other demon kings be in the mood to listen to Bao Qi's nonsense? If it was slower, the worms would not be able to keep up with the hot ones, and they would rush into the vortex immediately, disappearing one by one. Bao Qi stood there, staring at these former colleagues with a strange expression, and lost the interest in talking. After they had all left, he glanced at Xiaya. "What the hell is that?" He didn't believe that it was a real sacred artifact, but what he saw couldn't get a reasonable explanation. Xiaya stood up slowly, her bloody hands recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and became white and clean again. She chuckled lightly and said, "Don't you see clearly what it is?" Bao Qi frowned. But where did Lord Wu Niu get the holy artifact from?" This time there were only a few demon saints who invaded. Although they had fought with alien witch saints before, no one died, and the holy artifacts would naturally not be left behind. Go in and have a look, don't you know? Xiaya giggled, stepped into the whirlpool, and entered the mysterious small world without any hindrance. Bao Qi didn't want to follow up. After all this time he designed to trap so many demon kings according to Yang Kai's order, although he didn't intend to, but he really had no face to face them, but he still couldn't hold back his curiosity. He hesitated for a while and then gritted his teeth step into the vortex. In mysterious Shaoji, a group of demon kings have been fighting together, as if each of them is an enemy who cannot share life and death, fighting in dire straits. When the demon energy surges, the powerful supernatural powers bloom one by one, and their moves are vicious and vicious. Bao Qi, who had just walked in, was startled by the situation in front of him, and his head couldn't help being a little dazed. He instinctively felt that he was hallucinating, but he took a closer look and found that he was right. The demon kings who had gathered together just now really fighting, and hitting hard. Just when Bao Qi was in a daze, his eyes were attracted by a warhammer in midair. The end of the warhammer looked familiar, it was just the part he saw before, and the whole warhammer was presented in front of him at this moment, making people more sure it is a holy vessel. Because the pure magic energy permeating the warhammer is not fake. During the battle, the holy warhammer kept changing hands, and if any demon king snatched it, he would be attacked by other demon kings, so it was impossible for anyone to keep it, even the shadow demon Mokito and the bone demon Fei. It's not good to be so close to the existence of the demon saint. A group of idiots. Xiaya's chuckle came from the side. Bao Qi turned his head and saw Lord Wenyu and Xiaya appear beside him at some point. Xiaya watched the battle below with a sarcasm on his face, and Lord Wenyu looked indifferent, as if he was watching a group of children fighting. My lord, the sacred artifact. Bao Qi couldn't help it, and asked the question in his heart. It's true, Yang Kai replied. Bao Qi was shocked, and wanted to ask more, but he didn't dare to speak again. The magic soldier's warhammer is naturally real. This is the spoils that Yang Kai got outside Fengguan City. It is the weapon of the ancient one-eyed troll. After being refined by Yang Kai, it was handed over to the Dharma body. It's just that the Dharma body has been merging with the origin of the Holy Spirit stone fire, and it has not awakened until today, and the magic soldier's warhammer has been useless. Yang Kai used it today. It was really an excellent bait. Even the demon kings couldn't resist the temptation of this demon soldier warhammer. They stepped into Wengzhong one after another. My lord, is it all right for you to show up like this? Xiaya asked curiously. It's strange to say that she and Bao Qi are fine, standing here to watch the show, consider. But Yang Kai stood here so big, the other demon kings seemed to have not noticed, and they didn't cast any glances at him at all. Yang Kai smiled and said, since I dominate everything, I naturally have a way to prevent them from seeing me. Xiaya let out an "oh," expressing her understanding. Yang Kai said again, it's time for you to play. Xiaya said, Your Excellency, please protect me carefully. As she spoke, she yelled, I found the holy artifact, it's mine. Then she swayed her delicate body, and also participated in the battle, as if she wanted to snatch the magic soldier's hammer. But her strength is only at the bottom of many demon kings. Even though she performed extremely hard, she still couldn't break into the inner circle, looking anxious and helpless. The battles of the demon kings were bloody and brutal, and they used all means to fight for the magic soldier's warhammer. It didn't take long for someone to be injured, but the injuries did not stop the demon kings from fighting, became more intense. The magic warhammer changed hands again and again, and after rounds of confrontation, the relatively weaker demon kings no longer dared to approach the center of the battlefield, so they could only keep wandering around the periphery looking for opportunities. In this way, Xiaya finally had a few companions, so she didn't seem so unique. This melee between the demon kings lasted for more than an hour, and finally a roar came out, stop. The demon kings instinctively stopped, and at the same time distanced themselves from the others, looking towards the source of the sound. Over there, the bone demon Feely's bones were loosened a lot, and there was a cracking sound when he moved casually, and the will-o'-the-wisp that had been beating in his eye sockets seemed to be much weaker. The same is true for other demon kings. The originally strong aura has become much weaker, and all of them are panting continuously. The shadow demon Mokito is the master of the magic soldier's warhammer at the moment, and the black air wraps the warhammer away from everyone. Feily didn't look at the other demon kings, but cast his eyes in the air, and the will-o'-the-wisps in his eyes were facing Bao Qi. To be continued. Chapter 2873 Vulnerable to one blow. Although he didn't say a word at the moment, the demon kings all felt that something was wrong, and they all raised their eyes to look at the sky. Although everyone noticed Bao Qi's abnormality just now, no one was in the mood at the critical moment of fighting for the holy artifact. Go deep and think. As soon as he stopped now, the contrast between Bao Qi's calmness and the gaffes of the demon kings instantly became extremely sharp. Bao Qi, you should give us an explanation. Philly's voice was icy cold. Why do you want to provoke a fight between the demon kings? What do you want to get out of it? Although the appearance of the holy artifact was a bit unimaginable, Fei Li instinctively realized that it was a trap, a method used by Bao Qi to make the demon kings fight. It's just that he couldn't figure it out. Why would Bao Qi do this? What kind of benefits can he get? The other demon kings frowned slightly, and gradually came to their senses. Although they still had some nostalgia for the holy artifact, they still forcibly suppressed the eagerness in their hearts, and turned their eyes to Bao Qi, who had been watching coldly. Explaining requires him to look good. Ha! Bao Qi couldn't help but sneered, his face mocking, as if he had peeled off a layer of camouflage, revealing his true face. He lowered his eyebrows, looked at the demon kings below, and sneered, I thought you would fight until the end of time. I didn't expect there to be such a smart person. As soon as this remark came out, all the demon kings changed their colors one after another. If it was just doubts just now, then after Bao Qi said this, they had already confirmed it. What a trap! I don't know what kind of ghost Bao Qi is planning to use a sacred artifact as bait to make them commit suicide. This thought flashed, and all the demon kings were furious. Fei Li said gloomily, Bao Qi, you want to die. Bao Qi chuckled and said, can you do this? Just try it and you'll know. When Fei Li finished speaking, his bones suddenly burned with green flames. He didn't see how he moved. He stepped forward and came to Bao Qi, stretching out his hand and pinching him. Although Bao Qi's strength is higher than Sha Ya's, it is inferior to Fei Li. According to the division of witches, Sha Ya is considered a low-rank witch king. And Bao Qi is a middle-rank witch king, and Fei Li is a top-rank witch king. The suppression of absolute strength made Fei Li feel that it was impossible for him to miss. The movement was light and calm, as if trying to crush a fly to death. Bao Qi smiled. Faced with the fierce blow of the demon king who was close to the demon saint, his face did not change, and the sarcasm in his eyes became stronger. Fei Li instinctively felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong, and now he had to. He couldn't allow him to think too much, and if he was cruel, he would directly take Bao Qi's life, and let him know what would happen if he did something wrong. The next moment, the will-o'-the-wisps in Fei Li's eyes jumped suddenly. Because his hand involuntarily stopped 3 feet in front of Bao Qi, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get an inch in. Immediately afterwards, a ghostly figure appeared in front of him. This is a young man who has been eroded by demon energy, but he has not lost his sanity, because those eyes are full of wisdom. He looked indifferent. The aura emanating from all over his body is not that great, but Fei Li is extremely disturbed in his heart. This feeling has not appeared for countless years, and the last time it appeared was thousands of years ago. The bone frame is not very strong, and it is wobbly when walking, as if the bones of the whole body are about to fall apart at any time. That time, when he encountered the nemesis of the Bone Demon clan, the bone-crushing beast, he carefully hid in the grass, not daring to move. I'm afraid that the bone-crushing beast will swallow him as a delicious meal. The feeling from 1,000 years ago was revisited, but Fei Li was not surprised at all. Even though he had no flesh and blood, he could still feel a chill. That is the coldness that comes from the depths of the soul. He had no idea how this young man appeared in front of his eyes, as if he was standing there in the first place. The expressions of the other demon kings have also changed several times, and more than a dozen pairs of eyes focused on Yang Kai. The demon kings who had been beating you to death before gathered all their momentum in one place at this moment, even grabbing Yang Kai. The shadow demon Mokito, the sacred artifact, is no exception. He is approaching other demon kings without a trace. My lord, Bao Qi bowed and saluted, showing Yang Kai's superior status with practical actions. My lord, the will-o'-the-wisps in Fei Li's eyes jumped again, surprised by Bao Qi's address. As a demon king, he would only address a demon sage as an adult. The young man in front of him didn't have the aura of a demon sage at all. Instead, he looked like a transformed demon. How could he be called an adult by Bao Qi? The transformed demons have the lowest status among the demons, not even as good as monsters. In many cases, the value of these demons is to feed the monsters. Who are you? Philip asked in a low voice. Yang Kai smiled at him, Fei Li was inexplicable, but the next moment he didn't have the time to think about other things, because suddenly there was a power in front of him that made him feel horrified, and he was close to the existence of the demon saint in front of this power. Unexpectedly, he was sent back by the vibration without any resistance, his bones were rattling, and he was almost scattered by the vibration. Fei Li let out a strange cry, and fell back to the side of the other demon kings. The expressions of all the demon kings were a little sluggish, they looked at Fei Li in shock, and looked at Yang Kai suspiciously, almost thinking that they had hallucinations. "This guy is weird," Philip shouted to remind him as soon as he landed. "It's really weird, obviously the breath is not so strong, but he can fly himself back at will. If he wanted to kill him just now, can he resist it?" "Bao Qi, what do you mean?" Xiaya jumped out and shouted coquettishly, with an air of righteous indignation, "What exactly do you want to do?" It has to be said that the succubus does have an unparalleled talent for acting. Her demeanor and tone all showed her anger, which made the other demon kings have no doubts. What she asked was the answer that all the demon kings wanted to know. Bao Qi smiled slightly and said, "Xiaya, you're asking the wrong person. It's not what I want to do, but what my lord wants to do." Xiaya sneered and said, "My lord. A guy who is equivalent to a magic commander is also qualified to call himself a lord in front of us." Bao Qi's face darkened. "My lord's methods are unimaginable with your limited IQ." Similar words, Xiaya said this to him a few months ago, and now he relayed it. He felt a strange feeling, as if he had become Xiaya a few months ago, and the group of demon kings below were the original own. As if intending to show off his unparalleled strength, Yang Kai slightly raised his hand, and the shadow demon Mokito suddenly let out a strange cry, and flew towards Yang Kai involuntarily, in midair, wrapped in his body all the time. The black air on the surface suddenly dissipated, revealing an exquisite figure. This is mysterious and unpredictable in the demon realm. No one has ever seen the real king of shadow demons, but he is actually a female demon. And different from the tall and mighty general demons, her figure is extremely petite. A group of demon kings were almost dumbfounded. The shadow demon Makoto ranks extremely high among all the demon kings. No demon king dares to fight her alone, and Makoto has always been shrouded in black air. Don't know her true face. Until now, so everyone was very surprised, never thought that the real face of the shadow demon king would be like this, except for the mysterious black energy. She looks like an ordinary demon, there is nothing special about her, even her appearance is different. Very ordinary. Mokito was equally surprised, even shocked. It was not her original intention to dissipate the black energy, it was obviously a method used by the young man. What made her feel horrified was that she had no ability to resist at all. How could such a thing happen? Even in the face of the devil, she is proficient in stealth and assassination, and she is not so helpless. At this moment, she can't help but have an illusion that her fate is controlled by others. And before that, she has always controlled the fate of others. Under the complex eyes of all the demon kings, Moketsuo was dragged in front of him by Yang Kai. Moketsuo naturally didn't want to stand still, and instinctively wanted to resist, but he couldn't gather any strength. Her face suddenly turned pale, and she looked at the young man in front of her in horror. The young man smiled at her, but she was terrified, as if facing a prehistoric beast that could devour her. "This is mine." Yang Kai stretched out his hand and nodded at her. As if being bitten by lightning, Moketsuo let out a muffled grunt and fell downward like a meteor. A mouthful of blood spurted out in midair, and he was obviously injured. This scene made the other demon kings feel even more horrified. Since the appearance of this young man, it has only been a short period of time, but the ability he has shown has surpassed the cognition of all the demon kings. He is like a god in this world, and he has the power to kill anyone. The sacred artifact that was originally snatched by Moketsuo and hugged in his arms was quietly suspended in midair at this moment. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to hold it, and then flicked it back casually. The magic soldier's war hammer immediately turned into a ray of light and disappeared. No one knows where the young man threw the holy vessel. At this time, no one cares about the whereabouts of the sacred artifact. Everyone is thinking, if they join forces, can they compete with this young man? Fighting alone is definitely not a chance of winning. Even Fei Li and Mokito can't block his blow, so what can others do? Needless to say, all the demon kings met and reached a consensus. "My name is Wu Niu." Yang Kai was suspended in midair, looking down at the crowd, which made his figure appear taller. "As you can see, Bao Qi is my man." It was already obvious that the demon kings were silent. "What are you going to do?" Xia asked in a timely manner. Yang Kai smiled slightly. I want you to be my people just like Bao Qi. To be continued.